Tutulungan ka namin mag-unwind.
Tutulungan ka naming ma-realize ang mga bagay-bagay.
Pero tutulungan ka talaga namin
Napansinin ng mga bagay
pangyayari or lugar.
na ikaw mismo ay pinipiling di pansinin.
Kala mo lang wala, pero pipilitin ka namin isiping meron.
Halina't makinig sa aming kwentuhan na magiging kwentuhan mo rin later on. This is Catch 22, the podcast. Episode number 1, Hollywood movies versus Pinoy movies. Good morning, mga listeners. Good morning to you, partner.
Good morning, bro. What is up? Ito na naman, kwentuhan na naman tayo.
Yes,
ano pag-usapan natin yun?
This being our first episode ng ating vlog, we're very excited because ang magiging talagang tuhog ng usapan natin is more of kuro-kuro kwentuhan so that people get to learn from us. Hoping na may matutunan sila from us.
Oo nga naman. Hindi sabihin, puro mga kalokohan na pinag-uusapan ito.
Wag naman. May time for that, but for the meantime, let's talk about something that is, I'm not quite sure kung appropriate na topic to kasi because of the pandemic and all, would like to talk about yung sa Hollywood movies versus yung sa mga Pinoy movies.
Oy, gusto ko yan. Okay, masaya yan. Lalo na ngayong pandemic di ba? Quarantine.
A lot of people are binge watching, a lot of people are couch potatoes, technically speaking, di ba?
At the expense of health.
Sana naman wag, di ba? Pero di ba? You have all the luxury in the world to do that kasi ang meron tayo is luxury of time tama?
Yeah. Although minsan kasi pag work from home ka, parang mas malupit pa nga Pero still, after yun nga, hard day's work, diba? Gusto mong mag-relax. And usually, isa sa mga ginagawa mo pag-relax is manood ng sine.
Yun yung isang point You touch a little bit of the good things about watching movies. Kasi I think during those times na normal pa ang mga bagay-bagay, we had the movies and cinemas open. Kaso nga lang, because of the hectic schedules that we have, sometimes hindi rin natin nagagawa to go and watch a new movie, di ba?
Tama. And also, yung price rin, di ba? Kasi medyo magastos siya aside from the ticket. Siyempre, kailangan mo rin may pagkain sa loob. Tapos after nun, kakain ka ulit, di ba?
Exactly.
So, mas magastos siya.
And imagine, di ba? And imagine if you're doing it with a date, di ba? Or with a family, di ba? Mas malaking gastos yun. Ako po.
Oo, tama, di ba?
Correct.
Ewan ko nga bakit kasi sa totoo naman, pwede ka naman mag-download at meron namang mga streaming channels. Pero despite of that, di ba, parang kung wala lang pandemic, I'm sure mas gusto yung pa rin panoorin sa mismong sinehan yung di ba? Like special effects movies, ganyan. Like yung mga Marvel movies.
Yes. And I think part of the reason why we picked yung etong topic na to, on comparing, it's actually more of a case study of movies rather than comparing each other Kasi part yung reason natin why we picked this one is yung sa struggle natin of not being able to watch movies the normal way. So, eto yung time kasi, the first time in our lifetime that we're able to watch different kinds of movies. Hindi natin nagawa before So, yun. And ikaw ba, kung ikaw tatanungin ko, anong mas favorite mo? Without any regard for, I might say na baduyan or something, anong mas prefer mo for a keeper person like you? Hollywood movies, Pinoy movies?
Gusto mo talaga makikita minsan na binubuwas ever since nagkaroon ng pandemic talaga parang na halos naubos yung oras mo sa kakapanood ng sine. Pero one thing na na-realize ko during this pandemic sabi nga nila, it's also a time to reflect, is that mas magaan ang loob ko, mas paborito kong panoorin pala ang mga Pinoy movies. Which is for my based on my experience, which is parang weird. Bakit? Kasi syempre, movies have always been part naman ng family namin Father ko talaga, sinasabi ko sa'yo, bro, mahilig siya manood ng sine. I mean, kami yung tipong tao na okay lang manood ng sine mag-isa sa sinehan. I've done that a lot of times nung college ako. Tatay ko rin, minsan nanonood siya ng sine like 2 sa isang araw. Ganun, na-experience ko na rin yon nung college rin ako. Pero mostly talaga mga foreign films, ganyan. Hindi kami talaga lumaki sa Pinoy films. Nagsimula lang ako manood ng Pinoy film nung dating ko ng college because of yun nga may mga assignments. So parang in a way, talagang growing up, mas naglilin towards Hollywood films. And yun nga, nabibiktima ako sa mga stereotypes about Pinoy films na yun nga, dinidismiss mo kagad. Pero yun nga, ever since college, doon nag-open up yung mind ko. And ewan ko lang, bakit this time of pandemic parang mas pag gusto ko mag-relax, no? Parang mas excited ako manood ng mga Pinoy films sa Netflix compared sa mga foreign films. Para sa akin kasi parang napaka seryoso ng mga foreign films versus sa Pinoy films. But again, it depends on the genre. Yun lang sa akin. So,
it's a
going
personal
back to your
preference, I
question,
think, no?
sa ngayon, Pinoy movies ako. More on Pinoy movies ako.
Oo. Ano ba yung nakukuha ng isang tao when they're watching movies? I guess yun yung question doon di ba? Parang, ano yung pinakamalaking benefit when you are watching a movie and ano yung nagiging factor that you consider dun sa choice ng movie mo?
Tama. Oo.
Diba?
Ikaw bro, kung manonood ka ba ng sine, ano ba yung parang pakay mo? Sabi nga na napakalalim mo.
I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to answer yung question natin, Keeper, the right way, no? Pero parang ako kasi yung tipo ng taong if I have to download a movie or I have to watch a movie, kung kasi when you watch a movie in the cinema, you already have decided na yun talaga yung choice mo. But unlike if you are watching it online or kung streaming yan or if you're downloading it, totally different kasi yung experience eh. Yung you have a lot of choices because it's a streaming service, di ba? But then may struggle kasi doon na parang what if I started a movie that I will not eventually like. So ako
diba?
kasi ang gusto ko, tama naman yun eh. Yung the purpose of us watching a movie is more of yung sa escapism. Yung part where you just want to escape the real world and for the next 1 hour, 2 hours, nakafocus ka lang doon. So kung if I were to answer that question, mas prefer ko pa rin yung mga Hollywood movies. And it's not because Hollywood movies are better movies
Tama.
Simply because may hinahanap kasi ako na isang elemento, so if you could call it that, no, elemento to a movie that it has to satisfy me in a way that other movies can't. Yun.
Okay. So meron ka pala hinahanap na element dito.
Oo. And that's also the very reason why I think yung magandang comparison ko dito would be anong meron sa mga movies na wala rin sa mga ibang movies. Like example, kung kung movie A to, just i-compare it with movie B, anong meron doon sa naunang movie versus doon sa pangalawa, di ba? Is it more of the actor? Ikaw ba, do you prefer watching a movie na merong cast na sikat? Ganun?
Dahil lang siguro, ang reason lang bakit ako papanoorin yung movie na may sikat is because ang iniisip ko kung sikat yung artista dito, most likely siguro, I guess, pero doesn't mean na tama ito parate. Parang alam mo yun, may budget siya, tapos kahit paano, okay siguro yung story, hindi basta-basta ganun, di ba? Kasi at the same time, gusto nilang kumita, which yun nga sa napatunayan ko rin sa sarili ko, hindi naman may mga movies na sikat yung artista pero well para sa akin hindi naman ako ganoon na entertain, and yun nga you mentioned kasi di ba feeling ko parang hindi naging worth it yung time ko nung pinapanood siya, and during the times na pwedeng manood ng sine parang sana iba na lang pala yung pinanood ko ganyan. Okay, may mga sine naman na yun nga syempre very yun nga lang magte-take ka ng chance kasi di ba parang especially kapag indie film hindi mo alam kung tawag doon okay nga ba to, worth it your time. But alam mo naman na parang ako, may assumption kasi ako pag indie film na kakaiba siya, no? Na hindi siya kagaya doon sa mga mainstream movies na napapanood natin. In the sense na siguro may mga controversial siyang topics na dinidiscuss or in terms of, yun nga, the way it was made is much more, tawag doon, adventurous in terms of filmmaking and in terms of script siguro, may mga bagay-bagay siyang may mga nasa script na hindi mo talaga usually maririnig sa mga mas bolder siguro ang dating. No? Parang bold film yun ang dating.
Hindi naman. But I'm getting your point about how they tell the story. Tama ba?
How they tell the story. Obviously, yun naman talaga yung yung habol mo 'di ba? Pag manonood ka ng sine. And yeah, not really, no. I mean, ngayon lang tawag doon. Hindi na ako masyadong nagre-rely talaga sa tawag doon. Hindi na ako masyadong nagre-rely kung sino yung artista
Okay.
minsan sa film.
Yeah.
Pero most likely nagre-rely ako sa not even the critics, 'di ba? Kasi alam naman natin meron yung mga Rotten Tomato. Dati tinitingnan ko talaga yun kung
Yeah.
ano ba
Yeah.
rating ng Rotten Tomato, ganyan. Pero may mga films na I don't know, kasi especially sa abroad, no, given yung situation nila na medyo parang highly politicized lahat ng mga bagay-bagay, and it
Mm.
even kumbaga tawag doon, pushes through, umaapaw papunta rin sa Hollywood, ganyan.
Mm.
So may mga films kasi doon na because of certain, I would say, themes na parang against the political leaning of a particular, yun nga, of Hollywood or something.
True.
Medyo hindi
True.
maganda yung rating ng mga critics, pero pag titignan mo naman yung audience rating, para ang taas-taas, di ba? So
Yeah.
mas nagre-rely ako, mas trip ko yung audience tawag doon, mas tinitingnan ko yung audience rating compared sa critics. Ngayon, pag manonood ako ng movies, yun ang tinitignan.
Yeah. There are some Hollywood movies without even naming some, na parang wala naman talagang intention to offend people, but it's very offensive to a lot of people, di ba? Example, an
Mm.
animated movie that is about a Chinese character but doesn't have a lot of Chinese actors. And that
Oh,
movie
pati
can be offensive to a lot of people, no?
correct, 'di ba? Yung mga ganun, kailangan meron ka ring susundin na parang tawag doon. Susundan na parang rules rin when it comes to talking about other cultures, 'di ba? Na dapat kung Chinese siya, ganyan, dapat Chinese rin yung magboses, mga ganon.
Yeah.
They have to avoid certain stereotypes, mga ganyan.
Mm-mm.
Well, sa akin naman, wala namang problema doon. Basta't maganda ulit yung story. Tulad ng sinabi mo nga, escapism. Basta't naman, sige, may kanya-kanya kayong diskarte, kanya-kanya kayong filosofiya when it comes to making movies.
Yeah.
Basta gusto ko pagpapanoorin ko to, tawag doon, ma-entertain ako. Although bro, I would have to make exceptions rin when it comes to, siguro, kapag based siya into something like a novel or a comic book,
Yeah.
mas gugustuhin ko, for example, na they stick to the original material instead of yun nga, infusing their own, I would say, agenda to that type of, to that movie.
Yeah.
And pagdating halimbawa sa mga characters, I'll give you an example siguro. Sa Green Lantern. Ang big fan ako ng Green Lantern. No? So, siya yung favorite kong DC superhero. And nung lumabas yung Green Lantern, sa totoo lang, nagustuhan ko siya. I mean, yung effects, everything, going to OWA, parang wow. Okay, I would imagine na ganito talaga yung OWA. Para sa akin, that's just my opinion. Pero pagdating sa villain, like for example, si Parallax, parang ang layo niya sa tawag doon, sa comics or doon sa animated na napanood ko. So hindi siya parang cloud or something na usok na bigla na lang nag-engulf siya, pero more of a parang entity talaga siya. And yun lang yung sa akin, yun yung critic ko lang sa kanya. So yun, medyo nag-nitpick ako sa ganun. Okay.
Pwede rin kasi yung how you approach your choice of movie. Tatlo kasi pwede yung factor mo dyan. You touch on the part about storytelling. And yung loyalist approach to a novel or a book, big deal yun to a lot of people, no? But there are some, take note to that exemption, there are some movies as well that skewed a little bit further away from the original story but was really good. Was so good na hindi na yun parang ginudge ng mga viewers. So, yung isang sinabi mo kasi is on the storytelling. So, for one to consider a movie a good movie, it begs the question tuloy, what makes a good movie? Diba? Tatlo. So, tatlong pwede natin gamitin dyan as basis. Una, yung sinabi mo kanina, storytelling. Okay, pangalawa, the actors. The way they act, the cast, and pangatlo siguro, yung the way it's done, yung how they make the movie. So, doon papasok yung mga cinematography, yung mga locations, mga effects, mga tipong ganun, no? Simulan natin with the storytelling. What makes a good movie based on the way they tell the story?
Okay. I guess para sa akin as a ordinary moviegoer, what makes a good story is, of course, objective ito. Is una sa lahat, it gets your interest, no? Parang it's relevant, okay?
Yeah.
People can relate to. Siguro kung gusto mong maging technical about it, di ba? Gusto mong, wala siyang mga plot holes, nasasagot mo yung mga questions mo, origins, etc. Like recently, may pinanood lang kaming, although it's a Spanish film, no? It's not a Hollywood film, The Invisible Guardian sa Netflix. May, ano siya, parang true crime detective, ganyan.
Yeah.
May mga elements doon. Maganda siya actually para sa akin, pero may mga elements again na parang hindi nasagot, no? Na gusto ko sana masagot ng film. Like for example, yung origin ng killer, bakit siya ganyan. Parang ang nangyari na lang is maganda yung story in a sense na yung clues, yung motivation ng killer, ganyan. Pero nung nahuli, then all of a sudden na-figure out na lang nila kung sino yung killer. And then nung na-figure out nila yung killer, parang yun nga, tapos na. I mean, no background story kung bakit siya ganyan, paano siya pumasok sa buhay nila. So yun, para sa akin may hole siya, di ba? In terms of storytelling na sana na parang nabitin ka. So, ganun yung para sa akin, no? Pero again, nakuha yung interest ko because isa yung sa mga genres na gusto ko lang, parang detective work, forensics, etc. Ganyan. But of course, wala naman talagang perfect, diba?
Yeah.
Movie.
Yeah. Yun lang kasi yung puntong yan, it does not appeal to the Filipino audience. Kasi ang tinutuhog, ang ina-after ng ganyan mga movies is it wants you to become very cerebral about things. Which
Correct.
I find is something that has no room sa Filipino audiences. Kasi they want everything to be obvious, evident, and spoon-fed. Diba?
Even well actually yun nga yung gusto ko sa nagugustuhan ko sa Filipino movies kasi unless na panonoorin mo talaga yung tipong mga that deal with certain issue, I guess it would be safe to say na yung mga mainstream Filipino movies is really lighthearted. Hindi mo kailangan talaga mag-isip na maigi, to be honest, di ba? Parang nare-relax ka talaga. And at the same time, nag-e-enjoy kang pinapanood. Naaaliw ka, nakikilig ka, nakaka-relate ka. At the same time, so in other words, nakaka-escape ka sa stress. So,
yun nga
yun ang gusto ko sa Pinoy movies, di ba?
Yun nga Kung babalik tayo dun sa definition of escapism, yung ganong klaseng simpleng movie already gives you that Diba? Yun naman yung ina-afteran mo in a movie. It helps you escape the reality. So that in the next 2 hours, diba, nasa-satisfy ka dun sa mismong objection, yung objective na yun. Diba?
Tama. Even kasi sa Hollywood films, I mean, even the light, para sa akin, the light-hearted Hollywood films or mga, I would say, magaan lang na Hollywood films na hindi mo naman kailangan talaga masyadong mag-isip, ganyan. Compared to Filipino movies, para sa akin medyo mas seryoso pa rin ang dating because kadalasan when you talk about family movies sa Hollywood films, di ba? They're talking about it sa kultura kasi nila So iba yung context. And okay, ganyan pala. Sometimes you need to exert some effort pa rin para makarelate Kasi nga it's a different culture. Okay? And sometimes medyo seryoso pa rin yung mga ibang topics na i-discuss nila.
Yeah.
I mean, like for example, even yung comedies nila, di ba? Pag comedies nila may mga more on, kailangan magets mo yung joke, ganyan. It's not really more on slapsticks. Unlike yung Filipino movies. Pag Filipino movies, para sa akin, it's still more on when it comes to comedy, slapsticks pa rin. At mga jokes na, yun nga, makaka-relate ka sa, dahil yun nga, it deals with Filipino issues and context, ganyan. Tapos, parang masaya lang, parang matatawa ka lang. No? I guess one thing lang na gusto ko i-point out, even though, yun nga, usually talaga nanonood ako ng mga movies kapag science fiction or fantasy, pero one thing na na-discover ko rin, masaya manood ng Filipino movies sa sinihan kapag yun nga comedy ito. Like, every time manood kami ng movies ni Vice Ganda, ganda siyang panoorin sa loob ng sinihan. Bakit? Kasi kasama mong tumatawa yung mga tao doon eh.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yung experience rin ba na kasama mo sila?
So, sulit yung binayad mo if may ganung
Oh,
effect sa'yo, no? Yung napapasaya ka.
correct. At yun nga, may ano siya tawag doon, no? May tawag doon, meron ka pang kasama na tumatawa kasama sa'yo. So parang in a way, may sense of camaraderie or unity. So in other words, gusto ko lang i-point out, na-unify tayo, no? Ng mga movies ni
Wow.
Vice Ganda.
Wow.
Meron siyang unify effect. Oh, di ba?
Wag namang Vice
Sakto
Ganda
pa.
for president. No?
Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Basta naman okay yung plataforma niya eh.
Oo. Ako lang when I talk about movies and when I focus more on dun sa story and how they tell the story kasi.
Ah,
Ako natatawa rin ako sa sarili ko eh. I'm not so much
ah.
into Pinoy movies. But
Mhm.
when I come across one, especially if I'm on a bus and accidentally
Mhm.
may nape-play na
Oo.
na pelikula,
Oo.
tendencies I will watch as well.
Oo.
Kasi wala kang ginagawang iba eh. Like if I'm
Oo.
traveling from Baguio to my own place, or if
Correct,
I'm
correct,
traveling to
correct.
Manila and wala ka na ibang ginagawa kundi just for you to arrive at your destination. 'Di ba? Eh buryong na bored ka
Correct,
na
'di
and then
ba?
they play as
Oo.
Sylvester Stallone movie, 'di ba?
Hmm.
Parang nanonood ka eh. And 'di ba? Another example would be yung anong tawag dito, yung Battleship.
Oh,
Battleship
'yun.
has really low rating sa Rotten Tomatoes na nabanggit mo.
Oo.
But the first time I saw it being played was inside the bus. And
Oo.
nakakatawa nung papunta ko Manila, I only was able to watch a portion of it. Pero nung pabalik
Mhm.
na ako to Ilocos, tapos napanood ko, so quite a coincidence, plinay ulit nila in a different bus,
Oo.
yung moving yun. So parang
Oo.
I have no choice but to watch it. Tapos nung
Oo.
nakauwi na ako, dun ko na talaga sineryoso siyang panoorin. So parang yun yung parang escapism eh, yung sa story of how they tell kung ano yung mangyayari doon sa kwento. Kasi ang Battleship, 'di ba? Ano bang tungkol sa Battleship? Battleship. Yeah.
Based lang siya actually sa game eh, 'di ba?
Ano board game, 'di ba?
Oo, correct.
Eh pinaganda lang nila. There was no famous actor
Oo.
actress doon, 'di ba? Si Liam
Ay,
Neeson was there pero he wasn't really the main actor eh, 'di ba?
okay. Battleship though. I think nandun si ano, 'di ba? 'Di ba nandun si Rihanna? Yung may tinutukoy mo na
Yeah, si
Battleship.
Rihanna. Si Rihanna was just a
Rihanna.
supporting cast eh, 'di ba?
Correct. Nandun rin si ano, 'di ba? Yung gumanap na John Carter, 'di ba? Nandun naman siya.
Yes, yun na
Oo.
kuan. Pero
Yeah.
the point here is, 'di ba? It didn't have Tom Cruise on it, 'di ba? It didn't have Brad
Correct.
Pitt on
Oo.
it, 'di ba? It didn't have Angelina Jolie on it,
Correct.
but
Tama.
it had the story that captured your attention eh, 'di ba?
Correct.
Nandun na yung part na yan eh. So,
Oo.
importante that the story is there and how it's being
Correct.
told para
Correct.
ma-catch yung attention mo. Pero ito yung
Oo.
magandang question dyan, Keeper eh.
Oo.
What's the difference between how they tell stories in Hollywood versus how they tell stories in Pinoy movie?
Tama ka diyan 'no. Gandang tanong 'yan 'no. One thing na na-notice ko when it comes to Filipino movies in terms of yun nga, stories, is that yung common stories ngayon na nadi-discuss sa Filipino movies are parang more on, it involves yun nga, parang romantic comedies ang dating.
Mm-mm.
Kung mapapansin ko. Parang ngayon lang napansin ko lang yung mga bagong ano ngayon, movies ngayon sa mga Pinoy. Parang
Mm-mm.
it involves mga love team o yun nga, may mga love interest, ganyan. And it involves yun nga romantic comedy na may isang girl, magkakagusto siya kay guy, may mga certain challenges, etc. At the end, sila yung magkakatuluyan. Parang ganon. Tapos may mga comedy, ganyan, etc. Parang ganon yung nag-evolve ngayon na nakita kong storya ng ano, ng mga Filipino movies ngayon, which is parang ito yung patok ngayon sa masa, no? Which tells me
Yeah.
something na yun nga, yung mga Filipinos right now, yung mga Filipinos na mahilig manood ng sine, are into that type of story, no? Na interesado tayo sa love, ganyan.
Mm-mm.
And one thing rin yung also, one thing na na-notice ko yung nga, mahilig tayo sa romantic comedies right now na yung mga love teams na nakilala natin. And mahilig tayong magpakita ng mga iba't ibang mga location. Parang it also involves travel, na hindi lang sila nasa isang setting lang. Although, gusto ko pang panoorin yung ano, Four Sisters ngayon sa sa
Really?
Netflix. Oh, meron eh. Siya yung number 1 actually. So ako actually
Wow.
na curious ako eh. Napanood ko yung Four Sisters in a Wedding. Ewan kung based siya doon.
Mm.
Yung sina Tony, sina Bea, sina Angel, sina Enchong B. Pero yun nga, I mean, one thing na yun nga napansin ko, no. Ayaw masyadong magawing mabigat ngayon ng mainstream Philippine cinema yung kanilang mga nilalabas na na mga sine. And yun nga, you mentioned about escapism. I guess one way rin na tinutulungan rin tayo mag-escape aside from the story is do sa mga locations na pinapakita. Parang it tells us that yung mga Pinoy, yun nga again, aside from wanting romantic comedies, gusto rin nila ng travel, no? So, yeah, I mean, considering kasi yung population ng Pinoy ngayon is mostly mga bata pa eh, di ba? So, yun yung nakita kong niya, parang when it comes to mainstream films, no? Pagdating naman sa Hollywood, one thing na napapansin ko lang parang ngayon yung mga filmmakers, ang parang one thing that you will anticipate when it comes to upcoming Hollywood films ay yung mga based sa comics. Yun lang yung napansin ko.
Yeah.
I don't know how that came to be, di ba? Basta ako natuwa na lang ako na, uy, magagawa sila ng movies about
Good.
Yun yung na-anticipate, di ba, ng mga tao ngayon. And not only that, no, I guess because itong mga comics na to, meron na silang cult following. So in terms of marketing siguro, yun
Yeah.
alam nila makukuha na nila. So isa rin right now, isa sa mga anticipated movies ngayon, I believe, no, na inaabangan ng mga tao is yung Mortal Kombat, di ba?
Yeah.
So nakailang Mortal Kombat na, di ba? Pero gumawa pa rin sila. It still works, eh? It still works.
Yeah. Good yun, no? Na parang, tama ba? The kind of story that movies are trying to adapt depend on the audience that we have, no? For a specific country or a culture, di ba? Or a nation.
I guess so. Sa tingin ko, kasi bottom line para sa akin, bro, ang mga movies pa rin, they're made pa rin, di ba? Na by Hollywood or by, I don't know, Star Cinema siguro. Isa sa mga main goals pa rin is para kumita sila. At para kumita sila, they have to take into consideration yung mga taong manonood. Ano bang type of films ang may pinakamaraming manonood? So again, going back sa atin, sa Philippines, given yung population natin, generally young, and they're into teeny bopper stuff, ganon, or love, rom-com. So ganon ang gagawin natin, mostly yung kikita. Or tawag doon for those naman na gusto lang mag-enjoy, comedies, di ba? Ganyan, like ni Vice Ganda. I just don't know lang pagdating siguro sa Hollywood, di ba? I guess they figured out, no? Meron silang mga marketing studies na maraming mga tao are into comic book movies, ganyan. So they started making those types of movies. And it paid off naman, di ba?
Yeah. Pero ito yung pampalito dyan eh. If we are to inject din yung mga ibang country na gumagawa ng mga pelikula like mga Korean movies, diba? So if you try to take a look at it, they also touch a lot of those things that you mentioned about love, about locations.
Correct.
And they're so good at it in a way that to a point that Pinoys are now hooked, diba? Sa ganung mga pelikula, 'di ba? So kung maglilista ngayon sang Pinoy kung ano yung mga favorite movies na first one would be Korean, next is Pinoy. Kasi medyo melodramatic rin kasi sila sa Korea. Pero sometimes naisip din natin bakit kaya yung ibang pelikula rin from other countries are really so good? Is it really more of yung sa the way they tell the story or is it more of doon sa mismong actor, which is yung second na banggit natin kanina, no? What makes a good movie? Is it really more of the actor or is it more of the story?
You mentioned kasi, di ba, Korean movies nung nagsimula naman siguro siyang pumatok. I mean, most people siguro hindi nila masyadong kilala yung mga artista dito. Pero kaya siguro siya sumikat, di ba? Like for example, Sassy Girl, it's because of yun nga, yung story, yung very unique siya yung story, di ba? Parang kakaiba siya. And one thing na na-notice ko, yung mga pinanood akong Korean movies rin doon, na nagsisimula siya. Again, yun nga, when it comes to romantic comedies or even kahit I would say romantic na mga movies ng Korean, meron siyang parang twist sa ending, parang gano'n, na parang nag-enjoy ka as you're watching the movie. Then all of a sudden, pagdating ng ending, parang, wow! Ito wala yun? Okay. Parang
Yeah, yeah.
naaliw ka. Na, ang galing naman, nagawa nila yon. Na magkakilala pala sila. Then, parang may ganung effect siya di ba? Of course, pag tumatagal, pero magsasawa ka doon. Now, one thing rin na nagustuhan ng mga Pinoy when it comes to Korean movies siguro is yung mga horror films niya. Which, yun nga, after a bit, pag nung may mga pinanood ako mga Korean horror, parang nakakatakot talaga because yung effects is okay. And it's more of parang, ano ba yung mga napanood namin? Ano siya? May isa akong napanood na Korean movie recently na horror na just the topic of it yung tipong napaka ano niya yung alam mo yung wild in the thing para sa akin na idea na nasa isang ano siya, I forgot the name of the movie pero meron siyang tinirang na bahay, anyway namatay yung parents niya, tapos may nakita siyang phone doon, tumawag siya and then may sumagot and it was from a different parang timeline ganon. So tawag doon ang ginagawa niya ngayon, kinakausap niya yung past person na ito na tulungan siyang mabago yung present. Okay? Tapos siya naman yung past person, tinatanong niya dun sa present person, I hope hindi masyado nakakalito, kung ano, kamusta na ako ngayon? Ano nangyari sa akin sa future? Parang gano'n. Kasi nagaling siyang past, di ba? So, eventually, yun nga, sinabi niya na namatay ka dito sa present. So, sinabi niya, baguhin mo yan, tutulong kitang baguhin ang past mo, tulungin mo akong baguhin mo yung future ko. O, di ba? Ganun, di ba? Sige. So, anyway, nagtulungan sila not knowing si present girl, yung palang tinulungan niya is a killer. Ganyan. Na supposed to be dapat sana namatay. So, anyway, ganun yung storya niya. So, anyway, tinulungan rin siya. So, yung father kasi ni present girl namatay. So, may ginawa si past girl na para hindi mamatay yung kanyang parents. But eventually, nagka-loko-loko lahat. So, given a killer kasi si past girl. So, yun, yung parang alam mo yun, tapos at the edge of your seat ka. Yun yung term, di ba? At the edge of your seat ka. Tapos may mga times na pag manonood ka nito, parang yun nga, hindi ka mapapatingin dahil alam mo para magugulat ka or hindi mo kaya yung scene. So, yun yung sa akin kung bakit pumatok yung mga Korean films. And when it comes to Korean novelas, para sa akin, I think, magandang storya. And at the same time, hindi siya ganun katagal as compared sa mga Filipino telenovelas. Ganun lang sa akin.
Yeah. I think alam ko yung kwento, yung pelikula that you mentioned That's yung 2020 movie ata yan yung The Call.
Yeah, The Call.
Yeah. Maniniwala ka ba, Kipper, if I were to tell you that more than a decade ago, there was a Hollywood movie na ganyan yung kwento.
Oh, I see.
It's a Dennis Quaid, Jim Caviezel movie.
Frequency.
Yeah.
Napanood ko na.
Ganun, same plot, no? Almost the same plot. Parang they're trying to change yung sa present and then future.
Correct.
Etong lalaking to, si Jim Caviezel character, was able to, I think, connect with his dad through a ham radio, no?
Correct, yeah.
So, yun. So without going into details of those, kasi I'm sure if people are listening, they might actually be very interested dun sa moving yun, no? Pero the whole
so
point
no spoilers.
Here, correct, kasi no spoilers. So, two very good sample movies doon. The Frequency and The Call.
Base sila.
Oo. Yun di ba? Korean movies, mapa-Korean movies man yan, mapa-Hollywood movies man yan, mapa-Pinoy movies man yan, they use the same story, but the way they present it makes the difference Di ba? Like sinabi mo, I think yung word doon sa Korean movies, no, collectively, is it's unpredictable.
Yeah. And I want to add, it's much more darker ang dating as compared to Frequency.
Yeah.
Para sa akin.
Yeah. Kasi not although I'm not sure kung it's because of the culture that they have, they darker there. Kung mag-isip ganon na or
more gothic ang dating,
'di ba? Mas morbid ba sila mag-isip sa mga simpleng bagay na 'yan? I'm guessing it's a yes. Knowing
in terms of horror, 'di ba? Kasi like tayo, 'di ba? I guess pwede mo siguro ma-compare sa Asian culture, mas nakakatakot yung mga ghost stories natin, horror stories ganyan.
Oo.
'Di ba, when it comes to yung culture natin. So siguro ini-incorporate nila yun doon, or I don't know
Yeah,
if they
yeah.
made some studies rin
Yeah,
when it comes
yeah,
to how
yeah.
to really scare the heck out of
Yeah.
people, 'di ba?
Correct. Tama yung pagkakasabi mo, to scare the heck out of people.
Oo,
Nako. May isingit ko lang na parang just
sige.
for this one. Para before tayo mapunta dun sa second point natin, which is actors or yung
Oo,
choice of actors to portray the
sige.
role.
Oo.
Don't you know, Kips, that there's actually what we call or what they call development hell in the movie process, in the movie making process.
Okey. Ano yun?
Common lang to. I'm not sure if it applies to Korea, but mas common to Hollywood movies eh.
Hmm.
Development hell is actually yung parang phase of a movie pre-production where
Hmm.
the producers, the screenplay, and every person involved doon sa story na yan. Wala pa tong wala pang mga actors na napili for it.
Mm.
They could not come up with a very good story for it. So parang napupunta yung isang screenplay or script in a development hell na tinatawag. So
Okey.
meaning hindi talaga nila ma-finalize how they want to make the movie.
Oh,
Yun.
okey.
Yun yung isang bagay that is really unique about the Hollywood movies kasi it goes through a process eh. Hindi lang siya yung process of weeks or months involved but years.
Wow.
Years siya kadalasan eh. So isa pa yun eh, yung when you try to develop a story because the audience demands that kind of story, it takes time no before you can come up with a good one.
Tama.
Unlike in the
Correct.
Philippines, not to belittle their efforts here, pero
Oo.
in the Philippines kasi maganda ang napansin ko kasi dito is that it's actually an actress focused kind of movie. So when
In
they
a
make a
way,
story, 'di ba? When they make a movie, it's based
oo.
on the image that the actor is portraying prior to making that
True,
movie, 'di ba?
true. Mm.
In Korea, it's almost the same kasi medyo ma-K-pop driven sila doon eh, yung parang
Oo.
image of the Koreans, 'di ba?
Mm.
But they balance it with sort of a very good quality storytelling, 'di ba?
Oo,
Yung
tama.
sobrang nagwagwapuhan ka na at nagagandahan ka na dun sa actor or actress, pero yung ending is what you didn't expect, 'di ba?
Tama, oo. May pagka M. Night ang dating, eh, 'no?
Oo. Yeah. Yung sa M. Night. Yung kaninang nabanggit mo na yung Korean movie na May Sassy Girl. Napansin mo ba
Oo.
yon that movie is a very romantic movie but it doesn't involve any kind of kissing scene?
Wala siya.
As
Pero
in
alam mo
wala,
yung,
no?
pero ang saya, pero alam mo yung kinikilig ka, alam mo yun?
Correct.
Well, siguro dahil, nagagandaan ako dun sa actress, gano'n.
Ako rin.
Oo. Yun
Confession
lang
time.
naman yun. Yun
Yeah.
lang naman talaga yun. And to think na napakaganda niya and then gano'n siya umasta doon sa movie is like,
Yeah.
wow, parang kakaiba, no? Parang it adds doon sa mystique niya. And you mentioned rin kasi kanina about tayo kapag gagawa ng sine yung mga Filipino filmmakers, di ba? Mostly pagdating sa mainstream, they would consider yung mga artista na parang doon nagre-revolve.
Yeah.
Agree rin ako doon, no? To a degree kasi na parang meron ka ng preconceived notion about this type of mga artista na ikakas mo. Like, for example, yung mga love teams natin, no? Si Daniel Padilla and Catherine Bernardo.
Yeah.
Pag gagawa ka ng sine about sa kanila, you have to make sure na sila, di ba? Na sila yung magkakatuluyan.
Yeah.
Sila,
Yes.
sa kanilang dalawa nagre-revolve yung story. Because before that, alam mo, magka-love team sila.
Yeah.
And yun yung binibuild na image sa kanila. And yun yung reason bakit people would watch their movies.
Correct.
So hindi mo ikakast, for example, si Catherine Bernardo and si Daniel Padilla na wala silang connection sa isa't isa. Alam mo yun?
Correct.
Kahit pabida sila pero wala silang connection sa isa't isa, gano'n. Di ba? Eventually, dapat magkatuloyan tong mga to or something. Ganun.
Pero here's the thing, no? Ito yung medyo pampalito dyan doon sa sobrang focus tayo doon sa actor or
maganda yan,
or yung couple na ganyan, no? Anong tawag doon? Yung love team.
Love team.
They tried pairing Catherine Bernardo with Alden Richards and it worked.
Yes, pumatok. Oo, tama ka. Oo.
'Di ba?
Correct. So,
Pumatok
doesn't
siya
mean na
sobra.
dapat na makakahon ka rin sa love team, di ba?
Oo. So parang, pero still, no? If you try to partner or pair si Catherine Bernardo with someone that we don't consider good looking, baka it
Oo.
might not have the same effect.
Good question, no? Well, siguro merong movie si Catherine Bernardo na kasama niya si Sharon and si Richard.
Yeah.
I don't know kung ganun siya pumatok, pero it's not compared talaga dun sa movie na kasama niya si Alden. So, yun nga, wala siyang I don't know kung may ka-love team siya doon. Pero, yun yung tinitingnan ko nga kung ano yung pangalan ulit ng movie niya dito.
Yeah,
But
I guess
anyway,
yung
Hello, Love,
argument
Goodbye,
doon.
di ba? Hello, Love,
Yeah.
Goodbye, ganon. Kay
Yeah,
Alden.
yeah.
Pero, we still see Catherine Bernardo kasi somebody na tawag doon, dapat may ka-love team. So, si Alden naman, I guess, in a way, in terms of marketing siguro, alam nung mga gumagawa ng sine na may fan base na ito eh. So,
Yes.
tawag doon, yung mga may fan base na to. So, kapag gagawa tayo ng sine kasama si Alden, alam natin mahugot natin yung fan base niya. Si Catherine din, may fan base na sila. Pagsama natin sila, ganda natin yung storya. And to be honest, pare, napanood ko na yung Hello, Love, Goodbye. Nakaganda talaga ako sa kanya. Maganda siya. Nakakatawa pa, actually. Pati yung mga balat nila. May mga balat doon maganda eh. Kasi andun si Joros. And then nakalimutan ko yung pangalan ng isang artista doon na tawag doon, part siya ng rap group na Chinese Mafia ba yun dito?
Yeah.
But anyway, yun. So, yun sa akin, kaya nag-work siya. I don't know kung nag-work rin siya doon sa tawag doon sa movie nila ni Sharon and ni Richard. I don't know. Well, hindi siya ganun maingay compared sa Hello, Love, Goodbye.
Yeah. So, ayun, it goes without saying tuloy that filmmakers run the risk of losing money if you are not gonna be consistent doon sa kung anong alam ng tao sa mga actors mo eh. Like, you can put Katniel in a horror movie but dapat sila pa rin yung love team doon eh. Hindi
Tama.
pwedeng i-pair sila with someone else, di ba?
Tama ka
it's the same risk that yung ganito kasing actor focused na premising natin, Keeper, with Filipino movies, it goes way back eh. Eto, hindi mo ba napansin? FPJ. FPJ was probably the only action star in the history of the Philippines that was not required to wear a police uniform in all of his movies.
Wow.
Napansin mo yun?
Pansin ko nga, kasi kahit police siya, parang parati siyang naka-leather jacket.
Oo. Hindi siya leather jacket, Keeper. Pan na yun eh. Harley Davidson ganun pa na yun. Maong jacket, di ba?
Maong jacket. Pala, Pero yung required ba siya na dapat parating naka-maong jacket?
Di ba? So, kumbaga, naisip ko, when I was younger, my dad would idolize him eh.
Correct.
In all honesty, a lot of the 50s, 60s, 60-year-old people out there, they dress like FPJ because of that image.
Correct.
And ang napansin ko pala na rason is that they always see him wearing that and they're not used to seeing him wearing a police uniform because it goes against dun sa alam nilang image of him.
Correct. Tama. Parang iba yung dating, no? Kapag nakita mo siyang naka-police uniform. It's just, siguro it's because they want him to stand out, di ba? Like, hindi siya kagaya ng iba na naka-uniform. Kasi when you talk about uniform, you have to like comply, di ba? Na isa ka sa mga yun nga, you're a subordinate siguro, ganyan. Yeah. Pero this is somebody na, yun nga, pag nakita mo, pumasok nakamaong jacket, compared dito sa mga taong naka-uniforme, alam mo, iba to, bakit siya nakamaong jacket? Yeah. Bakit gano'n siya maglakad, di ba? Yeah, bakit siya paos magsalita? Yeah. Ganyan. Di ba? Ganun. Ay, magandang point yan, no? Kasi we talk about yung nga, di ba, Filipino movies today, parang, there was a time siguro sa Filipino movies, no, may era na mas patok yung mga actions, yung mga FPJ, Lito Lapid, Ramon Revilla, and nagpatuloy rin siya siguro ng time ni Robin, di ba? Ito yung mga tipong mga artista na, yun nga, hindi love team, pero pag nalaman mo FPJ, Lito Lapid, Ramon Revilla, Bong Revilla, Robin Padilla, was recent, I mean, patok siya, manonood siya, no? So, I don't know, it tells us na siguro, mas, yung mga Pinoy nun, mostly mga moviegoers are, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, mga lalaki, and
it's part of the way of the way you develop a movie around the actor mismo eh. So si Robin Padilla cannot be a very decent general in the army, di ba?
Although naging official siya sa Mista.
Yeah,
Pero again, hindi tama ka. Yung image niya doon, kasama
mm,
pa niya yung dalawa niyang kapatid,
yeah,
is not tawag doon, hindi siya yung tipong clean cut ang dating. Official siya doon, hindi siya clean cut.
yeah.
Parang yun yung image niya. As compared kay Rustom, di ba?
Correct, correct. And i-compare mo yan with other movies outside of the country. Like Tom Cruise can be a hampas lupa character, but at any given time, he can also become a general. Di ba?
Oo. Pero yun yung one thing about Tom Cruise, parang hirap siyang tawag doon, i-cast as somebody na hampas lupa, na gusgusin. Parang
That's
napaka-clean cut ng
exaggerated. Wala
dating.
pong nakita
Di ba?
hampas lupa na character niya. But I think it's more of yung he can be multifaceted. Di ba?
Oh, yeah.
Yung
Multifaceted.
ano ba yung mga characters niya before. He was no, meron pala ako. Yung naging may mga prosthetics siya.
Sa Tropic Thunder yata, di ba?
Tropic Thunder, 'di ba? Not a lot
Oh,
of people know that
cheesy.
he was actually cast doon sa movie na 'yon, 'di ba?
Oh, and ang dami yung obscenities na sinasabi, di ba? So, magaling siyang actor talaga. So,
Correct,
para sa
correct,
akin.
correct. And he can play different roles eh. Unlike yung mga most Filipino actors and actresses out there, sobrang limited nung kanilang mga character that they can play.
Tama,
Na
tama,
kasi people are used to it, 'di ba? People are used to that kind of image, 'di ba?
tama.
So,
Oo, correct.
yun, yung
Oo.
sa good example na nga lang kay Tom Cruise, ano yung isang pelikula niya na sikat, yung starts with the letter J, I forgot tuloy.
Jerry Maguire?
Hindi, yung isa pa, yun, isa, Jerry Maguire yun.
Oo.
Yung
Jay Reno star?
detective siya,
Jack Reacher?
Jack Reacher. Ang
Oo.
background ng story niyan, Keeper, is that Jack Reacher
Oo.
is based on a book.
Oo.
But the person who produced it and the one who directed it, the one who cast him, said that Tom Cruise might be too small for the character of Jack Reacher.
Oo, malit nga siya. Oo.
Pero, kasi yung sa book daw, Jack Reacher is a tall guy and Tom Cruise is
Oo.
not really a tall guy. But sabi ng
Mhm.
director, the only thing that Tom Cruise doesn't have that Jack Reacher has is height. But everything else is
Tama.
Jack Reacher.
Tama, di ba?
So
So I guess you
parang,
could make that compromise, di ba?
'di ba? So ibig sabihin
Oo.
nito, we can pick any actor we want. Pero
Correct.
biglang pasok na pasok si Tom Cruise dun sa talagang character that is already established para
Correct,
dun
correct. Tama.
sa moving yun eh.
Correct,
So
correct.
gawin mo yung kay FPJ, 'di ba?
Tama.
Kaya.
Na palitan siya, for example.
Palitan, ilagay mo si FPJ in a non-action movie.
I think okay naman kasi parang image yung kay FPJ. Alam mo yung mukhang tatay naman siya.
But did
Yung
we
mga
have?
recent,
Yeah.
parang wala akong maalala. Parang pag sinabi mo FPJ, alam mo automatic action. Di mo siya maaalala as somebody na may comedy. Although kung comedy man, action comedy parate, no?
Oo.
Or serious drama. Kung may drama
Oo.
man siguro, action drama.
Or ito pa.
Kailangan action eh.
May mga pelikula ka bang napanood or alam about FPJ? Anyone can correct me if I'm wrong with this one. May mga pelikula ba tayong alam that FPJ was cast as a supporting actor, not the main actor?
Parang wala rin.
Wala, no?
Parang may kapantay siya siguro. I don't know kung nakasama niya siguro si Dolphy or something. Pero never siya yung second fiddle, you know?
Correct. Kung movie to kasi, they call it top bill eh. Ang top bill eh, parang ikaw talaga yung nasa taas ng poster. Yung pangalan mo, ang pinakamataas.
Tama.
Diba? And sa Hollywood, Keeper, big deal yan yung top bill. Na yan. Pinag-aagawan yan. Saka lahat ng mga agents ng mga actors, they also incorporate that in the contract when they do films. So parang kung top billing, kung ito yung kinuha mo, si Tom Cruise, dapat top billing lagi siya.
So hindi siya pwedeng parang kumbaga supporting.
Correct. So now we get to the second point tuloy. How big of a deal, how important is it na we focus on the actor to make it a good movie? Diba? So we start doon sa mga paborito mong mga Pinoy movies. Sorry, Keeper, confession time, I'm not into. Okay. Those kinds of movies. It's my own personal choice, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying hindi maganda. It's just my own choice.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to tawag ng Pinoy movies, pagdating sa mga importante nga ba, kung halimbawa, kung sino yung artista dito?
Yeah.
Well, from a marketing perspective, syempre importante if you want your movie to earn, di ba? Sa ngayon, as a state tayo ngayon, so I think Pinoy movie na hindi siya papatok talaga kapag halimbawa indie actor ito. Kahit sabi mo nang yun nga maganda talaga yung story. I think, I don't know if it's fair to say that. No? So, yun nga, why not have the best of both worlds, di ba? Dapat, okay, kilala yung artista mo, magaling umarte, and at the same time, maganda rin yung story. Ganyan,
Correct.
di ba?
So it has to be a good balance, no? Na between the
I
actor
mean,
and then the story.
yeah, unless na siguro, yun nga, no, nasa, like siguro, film fest ka, di ba, na you're aiming for a certain type of contest na you can afford to make those types of risks. Pero kung halimbawa gusto mo talagang like kumita, I mean, yung film mo, of course, ngayon no, sa Filipino movies, mas maganda dapat kilala yung mga artista.
Yeah.
And at the same time, maganda rin yung story. Or at least, well, not when I say maganda, no, nakaka-entertain siya. Gusto ng mga tao na pag pinanood nila ito, worth yung pera nila. Not to the point na tawag doon, parang, parang ganun paglabas
Yeah.
dumugo yung utak ko, parang ganun, di ba?
Yeah.
However, ito, pampagulo lang, no, total sinasabi mo, may mga sine na ako ito naisip ko, like for example, yung General Luna. Hindi naman gano'n kasi yung artista, di ba?
Yeah, true.
Pero at the same time, di ba, kumita naman siya. And ako, anong pinanood ko siya, I found myself talaga na pumapalakpak sa ending. Kung nadamay lang ako dahil pati yung mga tao pumalakpak, pero parang napatayo pa nga yata ako sa standing ovation.
Really?
Oo, sa sine namin pinanood ni Mrs. Naalala ko eh.
Mm-hmm.
And well, it was maganda yung storya, maganda yung acting, ang galing nila umarte lahat doon. And nakakatawa siya actually. Very entertaining siya. Artikulo 1, yung mga ganun, di ba? Napanood mo naman siguro. So, yun is exception. Hindi naman ganun kasikat na artista yung main nila, di ba? And wala dong talagang like yung mainstream ngayon na artista na like kahit man lang sana siguro nagsingit sila ng ka-love team dom just to invite yung mga younger audience. Pero wala talaga eh. I mean, yung leading lady, Smiley Dizon, which is magaling naman talagang artista. Di ba?
Yeah.
Pero despite of that, no, kumita pa rin naman tong sine na ito. I mean, it did well. I mean, para sa akin. No? So I guess one thing rin siguro is, I guess isang reason rin siguro ba't siya kumita is because it talks about yung history rin ng mga Filipino. So I guess ng Philippines. So, I guess that's one thing then na pwede nating masabi na aside from rom-com, kapag anything that kahit paano connects to our history, kahit paano na-engganyo yung mga Pinoy na panoorin ito. And siguro may factor rin doon na baka yung mga college students nung time na yun, ni-require silang panoorin ito for yun.
Diba? But I guess yung isang factor din yan was because of the hype eh. The hype was so big before they released the movie and even after it was released kasi
correct.
Here's one character that we know from history but we didn't even know na itong character na ito is cursing, di ba? Yung parang di ba? Parang nagaganon siya. So parang we were surprised na we were connecting that kind of story doon sa alam natin about General Luna. And we didn't know that he was cursing. And was he really cursing kaya when he was alive?
Correct, di ba? And one thing na napansin ko lang when I was watching the movie is that meron siya mga issues doon na I don't know nga lang kung those issues exist during time ni General Luna.
Yun nga eh.
Pero parang siningit nila doon eh. Like for example, yung may scene doon, di ba, yung nasa train. Tapos sakay ng mga Pinoy yung, or I think mga politicians ba yan? Yung sila at pati yung kailang mga family members. So parang yung sinasabi, di ba, na yung nga yung parang tipong okay naman yung strong yung family mo, pero minsan yung mga Filipinos, tawag doon, nilalabag nila yung batas for the sake of family. No? Tapos may isang scene doon na parang may party and then parang yung mga taong nag-uusap, parang they want to leave the Philippines or kahit paano, at least makonekta pa rin sila sa isang bansa, ganun, na parang hindi ganun ka highlight para sa kanilang pagiging Filipino, ganyan, di ba? So I don't know if that's the same sentiment nung time ni General Luna, pero I think ngayon na maraming mga Pinoy doon, in terms of patriotism, ganyan, nakaka-relate dun sa scene na yon. So,
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
it's very
yeah.
relatable, di ba? Oo.
Relatable yung sa mismong story or sa yung mismong character and the actor? Kasi ang
Yung
alam ko doon
story,
doon sa actor mismo who
yeah,
portrayed yung General Luna was so convincing of the character eh, di ba?
yeah, oh, at saka yung acting rin is also maganda, no? At saka the way na pinoportray niya to, na nakakaano siya talaga. I mean, mabibilib ka talaga ako. Nagaling ako sa mga pag-arte niya talaga. Oo. At saka
Yeah.
yung mga conflicts nila doon, yung tension, yung parang may conspiracy ba talaga nangyari, pinapatay ba si ganito, di ba? Ganun yung mga tipong, alam mo yung napapag-usap-usapan na about sa story ni General Luna.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I think kung susumahin mo rin yung pelikulang yun, although I haven't really seen it, I've tried watching it, but never finished up until the middle part. Kung susumahin mo kasi yun, at saka iisipin mo rin, tatanungin mo rin, you make a quick survey of people who were able to watch the movie. One thing that stood out dun sa movie was more of the mismong character eh, not so much of the
Oo.
story, di ba? Yung parang General Luna, just the title alone
Correct.
becomes really the one thing that stood out eh. Di ba? So, nakita mo nang may bigote, siya yun, General Luna yan. Nagmumura yan sa pelikula. Parang ganun
Sobrang
yan eh.
sobrang effective niya, no? Naging endorser pa siya ng KFC.
Yes. Correct, correct. Di ba?
I
And,
mean, we have Colonel Custer and then meron din General Luna
oo.
dito sa, I don't know kung ma-appreciate to ni General Luna na the next, I mean, kasi again siya sa mga Americans, di ba? And the next thing you know,
Yeah.
ngayon ko lang naisip, no? Nag-advertise siya about a restaurant or a fast
Oo.
food na galing sa America.
Correct, correct, correct. That's anti-nationalism, you know. Totally different topic na yun. Di ba na?
Totally different topic. Pero just want to point that out.
Oo,
Nakakatawa.
oo, correct, correct. Oo nga, hindi ko rin naisip yun. na part. Pero, part of the making a movie, yung sa process mismo is yung how do you develop the character based on the actor that you have eh.
Tama.
Another good point that we'd like
Meron.
to highlight, I'd like to highlight deeper is how they do it in Hollywood movies.
Mhm.
For its own reference pala, no, for anyone asking, I don't have any background in making movies, but I have a
Mhm.
background in studying them because I took up
Wow.
that course when I was in college.
Mhm.
Tapos, ang ginagawa ng isang pelikula especially in Hollywood, and they do this because they have a big budget for it eh. And they have the
Mhm.
luxury to do a lot of things even before shooting the movie. And one of the things that they do bilang luxury is that they also do a screen test
Wow.
of the
Okay.
actors that they have in mind to play those roles. So,
Oh.
hindi porke gumawa ka na ng pelikula, ibig sabihin nito, meron ka ng actor in mind.
Mm.
Okay? It goes through process eh. Months pa nga yung binibilang eh. So, they call it yung screen test. One very
Mm.
good example of this, Keeper, is yung sa, napanood mo na to. It's a Christopher Nolan movie, Batman
Mm.
Begins.
Oo, tama.
'Di ba? Yung Batman Begins, may kwan doon eh, parang may character doon na not a lot of people know, pero yung pinaka central character is Batman.
Yeah.
Don't you know that the first actor who auditioned for the role is Cillian Murphy?
Si Scarecrow.
Yun nga,
Talaga.
'di ba? And when Christopher Nolan did the screen test with him, for him, si Mr. Cillian Murphy,
Mm.
the director felt that he wasn't really okay to become Batman because he was a little villainous-ish kind of
O, yung itsura
character.
niya, no?
Yung
Oo.
itsura niya, kasi if you must know, Cillian Murphy is a good actor. Di ba?
Oo naman. Oo.
Magaling yon. Madami siyang mga indies tsaka mainstream movies na ginawa prior to
Correct.
Batman
Correct.
Begins eh.
Correct.
And
Nasa
then,
Dunkirk pa rin siya. Di
correct.
ba?
Naramdaman ni Mr. Christopher Nolan na hindi talaga siya bagay to become a Batman. So instead of casting him as a Batman, he was cast as the Scarecrow. 'Di
And
ba?
I have to admit, maganda, effective siya sa akin as Scarecrow.
Oo
Okay siya.
nga eh. But
Mm.
could he have been an effective Batman kaya if they forced themselves to choose him?
I don't know. Well, para sa akin okay si Christian Bale. Pero iba kasi I think pag artista ka, 'di ba? I think meron silang pinagdadaan ng siguro man lang face diyan before they assume yung character na yon.
Yeah, yeah.
And hindi ko alam kung paano niya mapoportray si Batman, 'di ba? Pero si Christian Bale, I mean, okay siya para sa akin as Batman. Hindi sila nagkamali na i-cast siya as Batman. Okay. Ang alam ko rin si ano raw si Scott Adkins, yung martial artist. Di ba may bagong Batman na naman ngayon?
Yeah.
Si Robert Pattinson yung gaganap. Ang alam ko si Scott Adkins rin yung martial artist. Si Boyka. Siya
Yeah.
yung ano rin siya, nag-audition rin pala siya doon, no?
Correct,
So,
correct.
ewan ko din lang kung I think, para sa akin, okay, mukha namang okay rin si Scott Adkins. I mean, nasa kanya naman yung physique at yung skill, di ba?
Correct.
Okay.
It's just that, 'di ba? Sa mata ng taong gumagawa ng pelikula, he might not be fit doon sa character na 'yan, 'di ba?
Correct. Oo.
May mga ganong klaseng kwan and I think nagagawa lang yung ganong mga bagay kung may luxury of a big budget. Yeah. Kasi
Tama.
malaki yung involved diyan Pero isa pa na maganda kasi with Hollywood movies, Keeper, is the actors chosen for those characters also are given sort of a leeway to develop their own version of the character.
Okay.
So like it might be just a simple Batman character. Diba?
Okay.
It might just be that, diba? Batman, diba? Ano bang meron si Batman? May sungay, may maskara, and people don't notice that he is Bruce Wayne, diba?
Oh, yeah.
So ang ginawa ni Christian Bale is he did it in a way that is very dark. Na ibang-iba siya doon sa cartoonish version before.
Tama.
We had the George Clooney Batman, 'di ba? We have the Val Kilmer.
Na may nipples yung costume, no?
Kaya nga, 'di ba? Mayroon tayo mga ganong klaseng Batman, 'di ba? Sino pa yung mga ibang nag-Batman? Si
Michael Keaton. 'Yun, isa sa mga sikat na naging Batman, no? Pero they were so cartoonish that you were not scared of the Batman character. You were actually delighted to see Batman, no? But the first time that we saw a different version of Batman was the Batman Begins. Sobrang dark niya because even Christian Bale was allowed to develop and enhance yung character na binigay ni Christopher Nolan. Di ba? Yeah.
So, nag-evolve yung ganun Parang, another example, Shrek. Who portrayed yung sa main character of Shrek? Si
Mike Myers.
Mike Myers ba?
Okay.
Ang magandang kwento about dun sa Shrek Keeper is that they already did all of the speaking parts of the original actor who was supposed to portray, but he died.
Oh.
He died before they even finished the whole movie. So they were forced to actually find a replacement. So si Mike Myers. Oo.
So inulit nila, parang gano'n.
Inulit nila, and ito yung nakakatawa. Mike Myers developed was it Irish accent? Yung
I think parang Scottish.
Scottish. Yung sa Scottish na accent. So parang ginawa niya was that he wasn't satisfied doon sa character that was originally portrayed by the other guy, the other actor. So he recorded his own. Tapos nung ni-record na niya lahat-lahat, natapos na niya lahat-lahat, he was again not satisfied sa outcome. So he tweaked it, in-erase nilang lahat, he did it all over again, now with a Scottish accent.
Wow. Which, it worked talaga.
It worked, di ba?
Oo.
I mean, si Chris Farley ba yung pangalan nun nung unang
Ay,
actor?
okay.
Yeah.
Si Chris Farley. I think okay naman si Chris Farley sana, no? Pero
okay nga siya dapat, di ba?
naman.
Oo. But the magic lies in doon sa how Mike Myers did it. Kasi it wasn't even part of the plan to sound like a Scottish character, but he did it, and he did it effectively, di ba?
Para sa it work kasi when you talk about fairy tales, di ba? You always think about Europe And para sa akin, it's not a surprise na meron kang isang character doon that yun nga has a Scottish accent or even Irish, di ba? And si Mike Myers, I don't know, parang mahilig talaga siya impersonate ng mga British characters, di ba? Like, yun nga, Austin Powers and So I Married an Axe Murderer. Napanood mo yun? Siya doon parang siya yung lolo and meron siyang Scottish blood, and then yun nga, yung sa movie about yung Bohemian Rhapsody, di ba?
Correct. But
Well,
let's also talk.
Yeah.
Sige, go ahead.
It works talaga dito kay Shrek talaga.
Correct.
Parang nalagyan pa ng magic actually para sa akin yung character.
Oo nga eh. And again ang magic doon was it wasn't even part of the original plan.
Tama, di ba? So, yun nga, ang ganda no, they were able to parang exercise and input their own creativity dun sa character.
Correct, correct, correct. Yun yung
I don't
maganda
know
doon.
if may ganong luxury rin ang mga Filipino actors, no, pagdating sa mga characters that they are portraying. Although I'm thinking about yung mga characters na pinoportray nila, it's nothing naman kasi parang that mabigat ang dating, like hindi naman sila nagpo-portray ng parang a gothic or dark superhero. Mostly naman kasi ang pinoportray ng mga Filipinos artists or mga artista na sikat ngayon is yung mga things na sila na actually. Like si Catherine Bernardo usually, di ba? And si Daniel Padilla, pinoportray nilang sarili nila as teenagers, ganyan, which is, or early 20s, which I don't think really has to, kumbaga, needs to require na talagang todo pag-iisip ang dapat nilang gawin kasi nandun sila sa phase na yon. But yun nga, of course, I'm sure meron rin silang parang mga bagay-bagay na dapat i-internalize, no? Kapag halimbawa aarte sila ng ganong type of character, like for example do sa The House of Us, di ba? Kung napanood mo na. Okay.
Yeah.
The House of Us, di ba? Parang may part doon na parang I guess nag-live-in sila and then yun nga relationship sila and then may time na nag-aaway sila. So paano ba mag-away in the sense na nakaka-heartbreak sa mata ng audience? So I guess hindi naman basta-basta yon, di ba? And then paano magkakabalikan ulit na parang how do you show that you're falling in love with this guy again despite na yun nga naghiwalay na kayo, gano'n. So I don't know. Baka yung gano'n rin, di ba? Very challenging rin yun, di ba? And then yung
Pero meron
pagiging
ako
General Luna, di ba? Tama ka, di ba? Paano ba yung portray General Luna? Ano ba siya talaga noon? Gaano ba siya which is, I think, yun yung nakapaka-challenging, no? Ano ba si General Luna, no? So, siguro nag-research si nun. Yung, nag-portray ni kay General Luna, di ba?
But I think it begs the question as well na parang, if this was portrayed by a different character, will it be different? Diba?
Posible, di ba? Kasi they're putting in their own interpretation of the character.
Correct.
So, yun na nga lang yung, di ba? Risk doon kung will it work with the audience. Yeah.
Will it work with the audience? Another good example of how important yung sa choice of character, actors wise for a movie. Ito I mentioned kanina I'm not a big fan of Pinoy movies, but in passing I was able to watch in cable yung On the Job. Have you seen that movie, Kipper?
Si Ann Curtis. Yeah. Tama ba?
Actually, hindi, by bust yun ata eh.
Ay, by bust pala yun. On the Job. Sina Piolo Pascual, tama?
Si Piolo Pascual ba was there? Yeah, si Piolo Pascual is there. Pero with a lot of fun. Parang it's an all-star cast kasi siya eh.
Sina Joey Marquez,
gano'n. Joey Marquez, Joel Torre was there. So parang, again parang I got so curious with the movie kasi I was able to watch it in passing lang eh. Hindi naman yung parang nakita ko schedule, pinanood ko. So parang when I came across it, sabi ko teka lang. Bigyan ko kaya ng chance tong sarili ko no to be able to watch a movie like this. So I was able to watch it until the end. And then ang opinion ko, ito I might get actually be judged if I have to make any comment about it. Knowing the fact na hindi ako mahilig sa Pinoy movies is the movie is so good. It was an Eric Mati movie. And I'm a big fan of Eric Mati as well. Pero Eric Mati not the stream fan, the mga movies niya na mga sikat, but more of the indie kind.
Okay.
It was so good that they overdid it because it had a lot of famous actors. So
parang na-over...
It was an overkill for me, personal opinion ko. It was an overkill because you have Piolo Pascual. Okay na tayo. Maganda na yun, okay na. Piolo Pascual, I have nothing against him. I am not a big fan. I don't consider him a bad actor as well. Pero, siningit mo ba si Mr. I don't know the name of the guy. Was it
Joey
Gerald
Marquez.
Anderson?
Gerald Anderson, okay.
Diba? Siningit mo pa yon. Tapos meron ka pang Michael Flores. Meron ka pang JM De Guzman. 'Diba? Meron ka pa yung
Hmm.
mga parang equally sikat na mga artistas. Tapos ang dating tuloy nun sa akin, I was so distracted with a lot of good-looking people that I could not focus anymore on the movie, on the story.
Okay. So epekto pala no kapag sobrang all-star siya. I guess
Yes.
yun yung challenge siguro no. Kung ikaw as a
Mm.
filmmaker or the director na parang hindi overwhelming yung dating. Baka kasi minsan nahihiya ka rin, di ba, na kinas mo tong taong ito and you have to give
Yeah.
him parang ample amount of time, screen time or something. And then dapat may malaman rin yung story niya, ganun, to the point na dapat siguro like 5-hour movie na siya.
Oo. And then isingin mo pa yung crush ko, Angel Aquino,
Oh,
'di ba? So parang
anak ko. Nako,
so
wala
parang
na.
it's an overkill. The intention is good for you to
Oh,
be able to get as many as big of an attention as you can get because
correct,
of the cast
correct,
that you have. Kaso nga lang,
correct.
I was actually trying to imagine what if si Piolo
Oo.
Pascual lang yung sikat doon sa pelikulang yun and then they were able to cast mga supporting characters, supporting actors, hindi masyadong sikat.
Oo.
They could have highlighted him as a very good action actor.
Oo, di ba? Parang ang lumalabas ba, bro, parang nagsasapawan sila, gano'n.
Pwede,
Hindi
pwede.
naman, pwede.
And then they're not able to develop lahat ng mga characters involved. Like halimbawa
Yun lang.
Joey
Oo.
Marquez. I think he was a sergeant in the army doon sa
Oo.
pelikulang yun. So,
May
sabi ko,
backstory siya.
it's a little distracting for me because I know him as a comedian.
Okay,
And
okay.
I'm not saying he is not good at portraying a sergeant. It's just that mga ilang buwan kaya nila pinaghandaan developing the character.
Tama.
Kasi from what I
So,
know
yeah.
sa mga Hollywood movies, when you want to portray a soldier, you have to get immersed with the US Army.
Usually, di ba, mag-undergo sila ng training, dapat may experience sila paano to ginagawa, di ba?
Oo. So,
So,
yung mga ganun.
para mas makarelate sila doon sa character.
Correct. O, another good example would be the late Heath Ledger, di ba?
Oo, di ba?
Pasensya na no, na parang what a coincidence. I talk about Batman and Christopher Nolan movies. It's just a coincidence. Heath
Mm.
Ledger stayed in a hotel for like 3 months. Hindi siya lumabas. When he needed to eat, yun, they delivered the
Aha.
food. So
Aha.
he actually he locked himself inside the hotel room for 3 months para to develop the character.
Wow.
So, how many Pinoy actors kaya can do that?
Good question, no? Hindi natin alam, no? Well, we have to do research, di ba? Who knows, di ba? Baka naman ginagawa rin nila ito, di ba? Depende sa character.
Oo. And we might actually be gunned down no for making any assumption na walang ganung aktor sa Pilipinas. Baka meron. So if anyone's willing to correct us, feel free po, 'di ba?
I want to add, no? I think importante rin yun yung kinokondisyon nila yung sarili. Naniniwala ako, no? Kinokondisyon naman nila yung sarili nila. I don't know gaano katagal lang yan. I believe in-internalize rin naman nila ito. And I guess yung environment rin nila, tinutulungan sila. Like, dun nga sa movie ni Catherine Bernardo with Alden Richards, di ba? So ang role na ginagampanan niya doon is OFW. And as an OFW, yun nga, parang gustong i-portray na malungkot siya. So ang ginawa nila, ito yung kunento sa akin ng very reliable source, no, misis ko sa Hello Love Goodbye, na parang hindi daw siya pinapansin sa set para as they were doing the movie rin para ma-internalize niya yung pagiging malungkot talaga. At yun nga, lumabas yun sa portrayal niya dun sa movie. And yun nga, the way na pinaportray niya yung movie, especially sa mga early scenes na makita mo siya tumatakbo, parang yun nga, itsura niya mukha talagang pagod, alam mo yun. Na parang sinakluban ng langit yung term.
Stress.
Stress. Until, syempre, nakilala niya yung kanyang leading man, no? Si Alden. So medyo yun, medyo nabago na doon sa part niya. So, siguro doon sa part niya, medyo pinapansin na siya para naman mukhang masaya siya. Mukhang blooming na, gano'n. Yes. Diba?
So the way, yeah.
Para sa akin, I guess, para sa akin, yung mga actors rin naman, whether Hollywood yan or Filipino actors, they take their craft seriously.
Correct. It just so happened kasi doon sa ibang bansa, especially in the US, 'di ba? They have the luxury of budget. They can pay for the training in the army, 'di ba? They can pay for a hotel room, 'di ba? They can pay for they can pay for a travel to a foreign country.
Tama,
Pwedeng ganun
tama.
rin yun eh. In the Philippines
Mm.
kasi, sobrang limited nung sa budget. So parang
Correct.
yung creative juices mo, it's only limited to a certain degree. Hindi ka
Mhm.
pwedeng tipo. Pero it also, again, will beg the question na parang, did anything improve kaya in the way we tell stories? But again, ibang topic yan eh, later. Pangatlo natin
Correct,
gustong
correct.
pag-usapan, Keepers, is how they create the movie and how they make the movie eh.
Mhm.
Yung part na
'Di ba?
yan, yung tipong how meticulous and how detailed ba yung filmmaking process ng mga movies in the Philippines versus the movies in Hollywood.
Okey. Para sa'kin 'no, pagdating naman sa Filipino movies, of course, wala ngang perfect na movie, pero visually, sa mga movies na napanood ko, ah, very ano siya, light yung dating sa mata.
Mm.
Unless na horror siya na dapat medyo dark yung elements niya.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I think yung mga elements of making film, ina-apply naman yung mga fundamentals pagdating sa mga Pinoy movies. The way na pine-present siya, napansin ko lang sa mga, of course, pinapanood ko. In terms of, yun nga, setting, yun nga, ano siya, mas maliwanag yung dating, very light, very bubbly, ganon. Depends kasi, di ba, sa storya. Kung ang pag-uusapan mo is romantic comedy,
Mm-mm.
may dapat even yung atmosphere niya, no, gives you a sense na masaya ito, and then mag-e-enjoy ka, matatawa ka, ganyan.
Yeah, yeah.
As compared naman kapag horror film ito, like may napanood kaming horror, like The Heiress, like umpisa pa lang, no, parang napaka-dark na ng dating. Alam mo yun, na like gabi. Parang kahit umaga siya, parang alam mo yun, gabi pa rin yung dating. Na parang
Yeah.
overcast yung sky, gano'n. Tapos may mga dark colors dyan.
Mm-mm.
And may mga creatures na galing sa gabi, gano'n. So, may sense ka talaga na parang gusto ka talaga i-creep out nitong movie na ito. Yan ang sa
Oo.
akin. No?
Oo.
Sa akin when it comes to Pinoy movies. No?
Yeah, for Hollywood naman, in its own reference din. So for Hollywood movies din, it takes years then before they can, yun nga, yung nabanggit kanina, before they create the script. No?
Mm.
But there are also some movies naman in Hollywood that are katumbas rin ng mga pelikula na nagagawa locally and even in other countries. Like, example, in the Philippines, there was one part ng uh, cinema history natin na nauso yung pito-pito eh.
Oh, okay.
'Di ba? Ito yung mga pito-pito are mostly mga titillating films. Yung mga,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
they call it pito-pito because you finish the movie in 1 week, 7 days.
Wow,
Yun.
okay.
Kaya sa
7 days.
pito-pito. 'Di ba? And in Hollywood, they have those kinds of movies rin eh. 'Di ba? Na ginagawa
Talaga?
nila na parang hindi ganun kalaki yung budget, so limitado ka lang dun sa number of days that you shoot it,
Mhm.
'di ba? But it was able to create its own parang identity.
Oh, wow.
Not sure I might be making a mistake of assuming na ganun yung naisip kong movie, but Knocked Off. 'Di ba?
Mhm.
Have you seen that movie? Si Kwan? Anong pangalan nung babae? Was
Knock
it Knocked Off or Knocked Up? Knocked
knock
Up
up
pala.
Knocked Up si Catherine Hegel ba 'yun?
Oo, si Catherine Hegel
Tsaka
tsaka yung
at saka
sa
si Seth
sinalaki.
Rogen.
Si
Si
Seth
Seth Rogen.
Rogen. Oo.
Knocked
Oo.
Up.
Oh, Knocked Up pala yun. No? Yung sa
Oo.
Knocked Up na yan, sobrang liit ng budget, 'di ba?
Oo.
But it was able to gross very very big revenue eh.
Hmm.
Yung budget niya is although 30 million ang pagkakalam ko doon sa budget ng movie niyan. Pero nasa level kasing level siya ng mga ordinary movies eh. Walang special
Okay.
effects, 'di ba? Walang special
Yeah,
effects.
tama. Oo.
Walang masyadong mga locations outside of the country. So hindi ka
Correct,
gastos ng
correct.
malaki, 'di ba?
Tama, tama.
Pero it was a box office success simply because of how they did how they did the movie.
Hmm.
Yung ibang scenes nga doon, mga reefer scenes eh. Alam mo yung reefer?
Parang
Keeper.
nagjujuts sila gano'n.
Yes, kasi Seth Rogen is really famous doon sa ganun mga reefer movies.
Parang may
Saka
ano,
ang mga
Pineapple
kasama nila,
Express, mga gano'n.
and then take note ang nag-direct
Oo.
noon is Mr. Jude Apatow. Kilala siya yan eh. Kilala yan
Okay.
na parang mga ganung mga kwan eh. Nandun si
Oo.
Paul Rudd, 'di ba? Ayun,
Oo.
si Leslie
Oo.
Mann, yun, Jason Segel.
Oo. Oo, okey. So, yung mga katropa talaga.
Oo, katropa talaga eh, mga kwan. Jonah Hill is also there, 'di ba?
Okey, okey. Yeah, yeah.
So,
Oo.
alam yun, so does it need to be a big budget movie to become a good movie?
Yeah, para
And I
sa'kin hindi,
guess,
'di
yeah,
ba?
hindi siya, no?
Oo.
Hindi siya dapat
Hindi.
na
I mean, depende siguro nga again, nababalik naman tayo sa storya and then yun nga, can it entertain people dito, 'di ba? Example nga yung Blair Witch Project.
yeah, good.
Parang kung I think isa yun sa mga pinaka-lowest budget films, 'di ba? Pero kung iisipin mo pa ay isa pa, parang it breaks ano, 'di ba? Low budget siya, wala kang
Mm,
kilalang sikat na artista. I don't know kung in-internalize rin ng mga artistang yun yung kanilang ano, character, 'di ba?
mm,
Parang pero ang laki ng ano niya, 'di ba, ng kinita niya kung isipin mo. Yung storya niya, the way it was marketed kasi, 'di ba, parang meron siyang mystique behind it
yeah,
na meron kaming nakitang tapes and then itong mga documentary style kasi siya.
correct.
Tapos mapapaniwala ka talaga and it was parang kakaiba siya nung time na ginawa. So that's an example, 'di ba? Na
Yeah.
may factor talaga yung may factor yung marketing and at the same time story, how
Mm.
it's being presented, 'di ba? Gaano mo na-engross yung mga tao habang pinapanood siya.
Ay, yung nakakatawa doon sa example mo na Blair Witch Project, Keeper. A lot of people think it's just merely an accidental na pulot lang no ng mga footages.
Oo ba? Kasi
But yung
parang hindi
yeah,
they weren't really honest na parang hindi nila sinasabi na fiction lang ito. Parang ayaw nilang sabihin directly na ganun siya. So, it's up to you whether pag-iisipan mo ba na, teka, totoo ba nga ba to? Hindi, ganyan. Kasi based nga naman siya talaga sa isang urban legend siguro
yeah.
or myth, the Blair Witch.
Mm-mm.
So, yun, it worked.
Yeah, it worked. It worked because of how they made the movie eh. They
Correct.
made it in a way na parang footages lang siya.
Tama, tama.
'Di ba? The same way that you make a movie like Transformers, 'di
Oo,
ba? Yung Transformers, alam na natin yun eh. Simula bata pa tayo, that's already a character na Transformer, 'di ba? Si
tama,
Optimus
tama.
Prime, ganun siya. Pero it was the first time na ginawa nila na may mga human characters involved.
Oo, tama.
Pero patok pa rin siya because we can relate well with the characters in Transformers eh.
Tama. Pinanood mo siya
Oh.
because you want to see yung mga, ako pinanood ko siya, it's because gusto ko makita yung aking mga like cartoon characters na pinapanood ko nung bata ako na
Yes.
parang
Yes.
maging almost real life and yun nga with
Mm-mm.
CGI. So
Mm-mm.
basically, nung pinanood ko yung Transformers, parang hindi ako masyado more on the story talaga than just to
Oo.
see yung
Oo.
tawag doon, them come to life. Pero syempre, I mean, kahit paano naman siguro, di ba? Gusto mo decente rin naman yung ano, sine. But the same time, very, again, entertaining siya. Di ba?
Mm-mm. Oo. So it's also important for us to see kung nagiging maganda ba yung pelikula based on how they do it rather than just simply on the characters and the story eh. So, mas
Tama, tama.
malaking bagay kaya na panghatak yung mismong the method involved in creating the movie. Okay. Another example, yung sa have you seen Napoleon Dynamite, Keeper?
Yeah, oh, Napoleon Dynamite. Oo.
Napoleon Dynamite was not really meant to become a successful box office hit, di ba?
Mm.
It was a low budget film.
Ayun,
It,
another example, di ba?
di ba? I mean, it only had I think parang a budget of ako nagkakamali, mga less than $1 million budget.
No.
Oo, mga kung hindi ako nagkakamali, it was even less than $500,000.
Okay,
Sa
wow.
standard ng Hollywood movies, that's a very, very low budget film.
Tama. Oo.
Oo. Pero naging patok siya. All because of how they created the movie.
Correct, correct.
Diba?
And yung character is actually, well, I don't know, siguro sa America kung sobrang nakaka-relate sila doon sa character na yun or may mga references siguro binibigay na nakaka-relate sila.
Mm-mm.
Pero there's something about the character na parang talagang maaaliw ka eh. Nung pinanood ko yung Napoleon Dynamite, especially yung last scene, no, yung nagsasayaw siya. Like, I did not expect na gagawin niya yun. It's like yung, alam mo yung, okay naman okay yung story rin, all of a sudden, bibigyan ka pa ng ganitong surprise na, yeah, okay siya. So, parang yung si Yoda, first time mo siya nakitang lumaban gamit yung lightsaber. Di ba? Parang, wow, okay, Yoda. Okay, kicking ass, ganyan. Di ba? So, ayun. And one thing about yun lang, ano, about movies rin, siguro, effective rin nga kung yun nga, may fan base ka na. Like sa
Yep.
Transformers. And Warcraft, di ba?
Yep.
Warcraft,
Good.
yung movie, hindi siya critically, parang hindi siya parang praised. Pero sa America siguro, I don't know kung kumita siya, pero sa abroad, ang laki ng kinita niya sa China, and they were even thinking of having a sequel. I mean, the effects maganda siya. Pero to be honest, hindi ko masyadong nagustuhan yung story, ganyan. Kasi I'm not really that familiar sa lore ng Warcraft. Pero still, pinanood ko pa rin siya because I played a video game. And may mga times doon na parang may nakita ko na parang character na, ay, teka, kilala ko to. Parang, uy, may Morlock. Ganyan. Okay, sige. Parang tribute sa mga fans. Ganyan. So, hindi naman ako nagsisi nung pinanood ko siya. Kasi the effects were good. Ganyan. Pero if you're talking about yung story, parang, okay, forgettable yung kwento niya.
Yeah, it did well. It did well sa box office eh. Malaki
Correct,
naman yung
correct.
kinita. Pero, if you're loyal to the Warcraft kasi game, medyo mapapa-off ka rin, ano, kung parang may binago sila doon eh.
Yun ang hindi ko alam. Although may nakita akong mga reviews, like, in terms of character, okay naman daw. Pati yung yung castle, ganun daw talaga eh. Yun lang inabasa ko. But I guess, yung hindi ganun ka, tawag doon. One thing siguro na disappointing, which siguro part talaga ng kwento is because syempre namatay yung bida, ganyan.
Yeah.
And parang prequel siya to another story kasi. Ganyan. So, expect mo pa talaga na kung magpapatuloy pa tong kwento na to, and who knows, baka gaganda pa siya.
Correct. And I guess just the mere fact na big budget.
Pero,
yeah.
One thing siguro na disappoint ako is that hindi ko masyadong na-appreciate yung mga fight scenes. Like, in-expect ko kasi na it's Warcraft, na parang ala Lord of the Rings style yung magiging like fight scenes niya. Pero, ang mga nakuha ko lang dun is more on yung mga one-on-one scenes lang ganun. So, ini-expect ko sana makita yung ganung type of battles. Pero, hindi ko siya nakita. Yeah.
Oo. I think naging complaint din nila dun sa pelikulang yun was more of the people who made it just used the Warcraft as an original reference, but parang iniba nila, binago, o parang hindi loyal doon sa mismong story eh.
Yun lang yun.
Yun lang siya. Yeah, another example ng ganyan, yung parang they follow their creativity to a certain extent, yung Avatar Airbender.
Okay.
Yun yung parang isang pelikula rin na was so loyal with the original character kasi TV show ata siya kung hindi ako nagkakamali eh.
Yeah, TV show siya.
Yeah, an animated TV show. So loyal with the character, naging boring tuloy siya.
Talaga? So hindi siya nag-work as a film, no? Pero kung series kasi, I mean, it's a long-running series eh. And ang dami niyang spin-offs. Nagpatuloy pa siya up to The Legend of Korra. So successful siya.
Yeah.
Pero I guess it didn't work doon sa scene eh. And isa siguro sa mga complaints rin nila is, I don't know, in terms of being true to the character siguro. Kasi I think yung protagonist nun is not really of Oriental descent, yung kinas sa sa movie.
Yeah.
Tama ba?
Correct.
May mga nakita lang akong parang critic rin dyan, like for example sa Honest Trailers. I guess yung effects hindi rin ganun kaganda. To think na dinirect daw siya ni M. Night, ganyan. Another example rin na na-overdo when you talk about yun nga being too creative is yung The Hobbit. So kung nabasa mo yung book na The Hobbit, napakasimple lang niya. And ang weird dun sa book, nagtaka rin kami ng kapatid ko, parang wala naman dito yung, napanood mo na ba yung The Hobbit, di ba? Wala naman dito yung Brown Wizard, ganyan. Kung nabasa mo yung book, kasi nabasa ko yung book eh, it was made by Tolkien na parang as a children's story. So alam mo, napakasimple siya. Actually, nag-umpisa siya okay naman eh. Then all of a sudden, may insert sila mga elements na wala naman si Legolas dun eh. Wala naman tong elf na to, ganyan. Wala sila mga ganun. So parang pinahaba niya just to make it into a trilogy, pero parang pwede siyang matapos into two movies lang ganun eh. So, and then although as cool doon yung part na dumating yung like mag-anak nilang dwarf. But I guess na-blast doon si Peter Jackson kasi medyo may inadd siyang mga elements na wala naman dapat. Para siyang in a way medyo naging prequel sa Lord of the Rings, which is supposed to be hindi naman.
But Peter Jackson is also the director of The Hobbit, tama?
Oo, siya rin. Kaya yun nga, na-criticize siya doon. I mean, ang ganda-ganda ng Lord of the Rings niya. Pero when it comes doon sa The Hobbit, parang masyadong na-overdo ba?
Yeah.
He overdid it na to the point na
Yeah,
may mga
yeah.
elements siyang dinagas na hindi naman dapat, wala naman ganun sa film.
Yeah. Hula ko, based on just how you say it malaking factor that Peter Jackson also has a very big following because of the Lord of the Rings rin.
Yeah, oo. Kaya marami rin nanood eh. Oo. So it's not, it doesn't have that parang, I don't know, para lang sa akin, lasting power as compared to The Lord of the Rings.
Pero yung
I don't
sa
know,
The
pero
Hobbit,
hindi ko pa kasi nabasa yung book eh. Oh, na
it's
Lord of the
also one
Rings.
of the more successful movies na meron siya eh. Just the fact na spin-off siya but it did well.
Yeah.
Ba, okay rin siya. Kung hindi ako nagkakamali, I was able to read the material about it eh. Yung, ano yung first na kanya, yung first na part of the movie series? Was it yung Unexpected Journey ba yun or was it The Desolation of Smaug?
Desolation of Smaug is, I guess, yung mga bandang ano na yan.
Bandang
Second
banda
yata
na.
or third, ganyan.
Oo. Basta hindi ko maalala kung anong exact title nung sa naunang movie pero it did well eh. I think naka-over 1 billion din siya in revenue.
Actually, maganda yung part 1. Then pagdating kasi nung second part na biglang parang in-extend na lang nila to make it into a trilogy. Pero pwede na siya actually matapos in just 2 movies sana, gano'n. Yeah, yung una maganda siya. Maganda siya. Makita mo yung mga dwarves na dumating lahat ganyan. So fun siya actually. But it's just that may mga elements na parang yun nga. Doon lang na criticize si Peter Jackson. Bakit niya dinagdag doon yung mga characters from Lord of the Rings na wala naman sila dapat.
Yeah. But do they also have the same meticulous process and detailed process if you are to talk about Pinoy movies?
Okay. I don't know, no? I mean, sabi ko nga kanina, I mean, in terms of kung ito nga ba talaga yung sitwasyon, siguro ang unang pumapasok sa isipan ko would be, well, yung Hello, Love, Goodbye ulit. Parang nung pinanood ko siya, parang ganito ba ang buhay ng mga OFW sa Hong Kong, di ba? Na may mga tambayan sila. So I guess yun yung details. Then meron sila mga shows. So makita mo doon yung mga Filipinos, they have their own culture, ganyan. Ano ba? Sa General Luna naman, I guess yung costume, okay naman yung costume, yung setting. Ganun, parang mararamdaman mo talaga na nasa 1800s ka, na Philippines, or late 1800s. Tapos, alam mo yung parang ramdam mo yung init habang pinapanood mo kita sa loob ka ng sinan, tapos aircon, parang init ng dating eh. Alam mo yun?
Yeah.
Tapos pumapay pa yung tapos yung mga damit nila parang grabe ganito yung suot nila noon pa, hindi kaya pawis na pawis tong mga to. Tapos yun nga, wala masyadong puno eh. Yung mga nila, yung mga setting nila, ganon. So para sa akin naman, they still pay attention naman sa mga details na ito. I don't know lang when it comes to setting pero when it comes to yun nga, mga stories, of course, may mga stories naman na nakita ko na parang may mga kulang, ganyan, which is, meron din naman sa Hollywood film. Ganyan. So para sa akin, yeah, they also pay attention to details naman, especially siguro kapag yun nga, nilalaban nila ito sa film fest.
Oo. But the movie making process, if you are to focus on that, one thing that the Pinoy movies, the local movies are becoming a victim of, yung the mismong story is not developing all throughout the movie because you know how it's gonna end already eh. Like another good example of that would be no one wants for the main actor to die in the end. Mortal sin yan to the Filipino audience. So do not ever kill the main character or else magkakamatayan rin tayo, di ba?
Kung kung may mga following talaga, di ba? Like alam mo dapat si Catherine Bernardo and Daniel Padilla. Sorry kung parati natin ginagamit yung example nila, no? Alam mo dapat kahit paano magkakatuluyan to. Pero ito, sige. Meron yung movie na Isang Daang Tula para kay Stella na yun nga si Bea Padilla, and sorry I forgot the name of the actor pero magaling rin siya. JC De Castro ba pangalan? Sorry. But anyway, you'd probably try to expect na sana magkakatuluyan sila. Pero hindi talaga sila nagkatuluyan. Alam mo yun?
Yeah.
To the point na si Stella, nagkatuloy siya sa isang parang supporting actor lang doon na lumabas lang siya during the later part. So, it was a surprise, no, na parang you'd expect na at the end sila pa rin magkakatuluyan or kahit paano may connection pa rin sila sa isa't isa, which meron naman sila pero talagang totally iba na yung buhay nila. Like kasi si Stella may pamilya na siya. Sinabi pa niya ito na in love na siya dito sa kasama niya. And then si Guy, tinanggap na niya lang ito. Ganun. Even though binigay na niya yung letter sa kanya. So you'd expect na parang magiging parang Lancelot and Guinevere to na tatakas sila ganun or anything.
Yeah.
Hindi, they went their own separate ways. Ganyan. May mga ganong movies. Sid and Aya, parang gano'n, maganda. I mean, not necessarily follows yun nga yung mga formula, pero I guess kung hindi sila trapped into a certain expectation ng fan base nila, they don't have to necessarily follow yung type of formula na yun. Yun para sa akin.
Oo. And yung kanina when we started, you also touched a point about yung if a movie would want to make the audience cry, it does it in a way na the characters have to really cry a lot for the audience to cry. Yung sa ibang, like example, yung Korean movies din, no, you don't even need to see that they're crying in the movie for you to cry. Diba? They don't even need to hurt each other to make it funny. Diba? Yung kasing part na yan hindi na nag-evolve yung Pinoy movies from that stigma na parang it has to be a slapstick comedy for it to be funny.
Yeah, I mean, wala akong maisip talaga na Pinoy movie na talagang comedy na doesn't really involve slapstick. Although may mga yung mga comedy films naman na yun, like for example yung kay Dolphy, di ba, may mga ganun. Pero I would say naman na kahit paano, no, when you say slapstick kasi ang unang pumapasok sa isip ko yung may mga dadapa, may mga tumatumbling, ganyan. Pero one thing rin na napansin ko pala lately, no, correct ko rin sarili ko kung nabanggit ko to kanina, is that more on mga banat na rin yung kanilang may mga banat na rin sila na matatawa ka. So dumadating na rin tayo sa puntong gano'n na sa sinasabi rin matatawa ka. Okay? But still, may elements pa rin talaga, no? I guess yun yung majority element pa rin. Na in order to be funny, it has to be visual pa rin. Okay? Na may nangyari, like may encounter, ganito. Like, ito, nung example ko lang is yung Bride for Rent ni Kim Chu at saka ni Sian Lim. Yung isang scene doon na talagang tawang-tawa kami is yung sila, naliligo si Kim Chu, nag-shower siya, then all of a sudden accidentally nakapasok si Sian Lim. So na-shock sila. So tinatry nilang takpan kumari yung tinatakpan ni Kim yung sa taas niya pero naka-expose pala yung baba, then tinatakpan mas yung mga ganun tipong ang gulo. Ganun, diba? So parang yun nga, in a way, medyo slapstick nga yung dating nun, di ba? So another example rin ito. Ito rin isang bagay bakit kami nagsimulang manood ng Pinoy movies sa sinihan. I remember noon magkakabarkada kami and then wala na kami mapanood ng magandang sine nasa SM, Baguio. And tuloy lang namin. Medyo hesitant pa talaga kami. Sige, try na natin to. Call center girl, si Poco. And then yun nga, pinadami, tawa kami ng tawan. Isa sa mga scene doon na talagang tawang-tawa kami to the point na ako parang napatakip ko yung mukha ko ng jacket sa tawa. Is yung merong scene kasi doon, no, call center agent, so may team out sila, team building, and may event doon na nagtatag of war, and then all of a sudden hinila, syempre yung team ni Enchong hinila nilang sila yung nanalo, and sobrang lakas ng hila nila si Pokwang na dapa siya dun sa groin area ni Enchong D. So parang gano'n, so parang yung gano'n scene na yun. So may gano'n pa rin.
Yeah, and I think it serves well yung sa purpose niya na natutuwa ka at natatawa ka sa kwento. Kasi yun naman talaga yung intention nun, di ba?
Correct. At yun naman ang reason bakit mo gustong panood ng call center girl, di ba?
Correct.
I mean, hindi ka manonood ng boys kind of film na para maiyak ka, Oo, di ba? Or parang ma-consider mo yung certain issues, like for example, like yung nangyari sa South China Sea or anything like that, di ba? Parang hindi mo kina-consider yung mga ganong issues na yun kapag manonood ka ng mga ganitong film. I mean, yun yung reason, di ba? Ba't gustong manood ng mga Filipino movies because magaan
Correct,
sila.
correct, correct. But what's very surprising then is despite a lot of Hollywood movies being very cerebral about yung mga subject matter nila, a lot of Filipinos pa rin naman, no? They love Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Di ba?
Oo.
And is it because
Correct.
of more of yung dahil sikat yung actor who portrayed the character?
Mhm.
Or is it more of yung sa meron pa rin kasi tayo nung mismong inferiority complex eh, 'di ba? Na
Posible, no, yung colonial mentality na sinasabi nila.
correct, correct. Anything that is foreign is good, 'di ba? Anything that is
Correct.
English is good. Parang
Correct, 'di ba? Alam natin na parang high quality. Parang gano'n nga, oo nga, may like ako 'no, sabi ko nga growing up, 'di ba? Talagang part na yung ano namin, part na sa family culture namin yung panonood ng sine, and yun nga, we stereotype mga Filipino movies as low budgeted, na tipong yung mga action na alam mo parating nasa warehouse, yung labanan, gano'n.
yeah.
As compared for example sa mga action films ng mga tawag doon, ng mga foreign films na alam mong may special effects, tapos malaking budget niya, worth it, mamamangha ka talaga no, sa effects niya, gano'n. So I remember nga yung father ko, may napanood siyang movie before, a foreign film ito, and yung critic niya, hindi niya nagustuhan, sabi niya, parang Pinoy movie, gano'n, sabi niya. So, yun, di ba? So I don't know, even my father, I think kung buhay siya ngayon, hindi mo siya mapapapanood talaga ng Pinoy movie. Unless siguro i-command ng boss niya.
Then hot, manood
Difference.
kayo? Ano parang?
Yeah, ganun, yeah.
Oo. Ayun. So, tatlong important factors for you to consider no kung good movie ano hindi. But in summary, 'di ba? What makes a good movie? Just to summarize it,
Nasagot
Keeper.
kaya natin tong tanong na ito?
We're able to naman, I hope.
Well, may nagkakwentuhan lang naman tayo, di ba? And then
Correct,
yun nga,
correct, correct. So, a good
makonsider
movie
rin
for
nila,
you
di
in
ba?
summary is
Para sa akin, well, para sa akin, good movie, bottom line, entertaining para sa akin. And yun nga, entertaining, magandang istorya based sa aking opinion. And it takes me into another place, yun nga, para ma-relax ka, gano'n. So,
correct.
bottom line sa akin, basta main point para sa akin, gusto ko talaga ma-entertain. That's the reason why I watch movies.
Yeah. Ako naman, a good movie for me is something that will satisfy me based on yung kung anong expectation ko of it.
Mhm.
Like if I want to be in a good mood right now with a movie, I'd have to watch a movie that is not gonna be very cerebral or medyo mabigat sa topic, di ba? Isa yun. Pangalawa would have to be, ako kasi ang choice ko dyan is I'd rather watch a movie that not a lot of people watch. Because
Oh,
who knows,
okay.
no, you might be able to discover a movie that is so good,
Mhm.
not because of the hype, but because ikaw mismo nagpusa ka to find it.
Okay.
Diba? Pwedeng ganun yun eh. Old Boy is a good example. Although I know that Old Boy, a Korean movie, is really a very big movie in Korea. But in the Philippines, walang masyadong nakakalam nun eh, Old Boy.
Hindi. Si The
Diba?
Boy yung kilala.
Hindi. Hindi yun. Na, kwan, I love you boy, mga ganung kwan. Hindi yun. Na, kwan. So yun, yung aking pangatlo siguro would be, it has to be kwan for me. It has to be informative for me. It has to be, yun nga, yung parehas ng sinabi mo eh. It has to satisfy me in a way na may isip ko pa rin siya after watching it.
Yeah,
Oo,
may lasting effect siya sa'yo.
yung ganong effect na kwan. Don't you know, Keeper, that I've watched a number of movies, hindi na lang siya 5 times, 10 times, but like, no kidding, 50 times.
Talaga? Wow!
Yes.
I mean, mga movies lang siguro na paulit ko kung pinapanood was Disney movies, pero that was when 8 years old ako, parang ganun. Pero right now, well, I guess 2 times, 3 times ganon, pero hindi ko pa na-experience ngayon yan na manood ng isang movie like 50 times, di ba? Anong movie tong 50 times na to? Baka later siguro.
Patch Adams.
Talaga, Patch Adams. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Patch Adams.
talaga.
Full Metal Jacket. Ano pa yung kwan, yung The Shining, although that's a very scary movie.
Oo, talaga.
Pinanood ko yon just for the fun of it, 'di ba? Dahil sobrang scary siya. Pinanood ko siya 50 beses because
Natatakot ka pa rin.
I could not get over the plot of si main character ba? Is he seeing a ghost or is he just insane?
Correct, oo. Parang yun pala
Lagi
yung theme ng The Shining, 'no?
Oo, yung sa The Shining na kung si Jack Nicholson yun no, nung bata-bata pa
Correct.
siya.
Oo,
Sabi,
oo.
kasi may ganyang debate na yung si Jack Nicholson ba doon yung character niya doon, is he just insane or is he really seeing ghosts?
Napanood mo nabasa mo ba yung book?
Yeah, yeah. Stanley
Oh,
Kubrick
okay.
adapted it from a book
Oo, 'di ba?
Na
Stephen King?
yeah, and the book is also a very famous book, di ba?
Yeah. Oo,
Very
correct.
Stephen King siya So
Correct. Kaya nga
yun.
nila in-adapt to ano to
Correct.
film.
Pero ibang-iba kasi yung Stephen King, the way he writes books kasi, 'di ba? Parang
Mm.
mga Langoliers kind, yung mga tipong The Shining kind, ganun
Mm.
na kwan. Pero just the movie alone, yung mismong The Shining alone, naging patok siya to me. And it's an old movie It's a 1980s movie ata, 1981 ba,
Okay.
1982.
Ah,
And
aha.
it was made before I was born. Pero I blame my dad for opening my eyes sa mga ito kasi he was so into VHS when he was still
Mhm.
as a seaman. Nung seaman siya doon.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
isang box na sobrang daming VHS tapes ang meron kami sa bahay. Malaking
Wow.
box. And then one of
Ah,
those tapes is like The Shining. So sabi
mhm.
ko as a kid, di ba when you're a kid, you're still not scared of movies?
Correct, correct, oo.
Saka ka lang naman scared doon pag lumaki ka na. Kasi hindi pa naman
Mm.
nagme-make sense sa'yo yung mga takutan factor, di ba? Yung mga takutan scenes. Yeah,
Correct,
yung parang
correct, correct.
may action. Nawiwili ka nga doon. Hinahabol ni Jack Nicholson yung asawa niya na may axe, di ba? Kesa naman
Talaga.
matakot ka, di matatawa ka na lang, papatayin na niya. Parang ganun, ganun na part
Okay,
na
okay, okay.
kon. So, tumatak sa akin yun.
Wow,
And
okay.
kaya nga patok rin sa akin yung yung Real Player One. Have you seen the movie? Real Player One.
Real Player One, hindi
Ready
pa,
Player
hindi
One
pa.
ba? Ready
Oh yeah, Ready Player One, yeah.
Ready
Oo.
Player One. There's
Yeah,
actually
oh.
there's this one scene na siya, based siya doon yung sa character na yun.
Na The Shining.
Oh, si Jack Torrance nandun. Torrance pala.
Talaga? Okay. Hindi ko
Oo,
nakita yung
panoorin mo yun.
reference na
Ready
yun.
Player
Okay.
One.
Yeah, napanood ko na.
Mm.
Pero hindi ko kasi napanood yung Shining kaya hindi ako nakarelate. Pero
Ah,
sa other characters, yeah, nakarelate ako. Kaya naaliw ako, again, sa Ready Player One. Kasi nga, relatable siya. Parang nostalgic siguro yung term na pwedeng
yes,
gamitin.
yes, yes. So just to
Because,
end,
oo.
you were saying something, Kipper?
Yeah, you mentioned lang kasi about horror films, di ba? Although hindi ito sa mga paborito kong movies, pero isa sa
Mm.
mga horror films, hindi naman siya horror, siguro sci-fi, na
Yeah.
talagang tumatak sa isipan ko nung bata ako was yung Aliens. As in
Pwede.
talagang, nagkaroon ako talaga ng fear sa bubong dahil sa movie na yon. Like, hindi ko makalimutan yung scene, batang-bata, I think grade 3 ako, na lumabas yung alien sa labas ng tiyan ng sa tiyan ng host niya. And then yun nga talaga as in nagkaroon ako ng nightmares. And then yun nga yung thought lang na nasa bubong lang sila. Hindi talaga ako makatulog doon. Yun yung isang scene talaga na yung bata ko hindi ako makatulog.
Ito yung si
Nag,
Sigourney Weaver, no? Na pelikula.
yeah,
Yeah.
ito yung part 2. Yung bumalik sila sa ship and then may mga victims na yung aliens. And then
Mm.
ever since noon sabi ko nga sa'yo, nagkaroon ako ng fear sa mga ceilings. Like, so yung matutulog ko parang pag may kumakalabog sa bubong parang may alien gano'n.
Oo. Yeah, yeah. Tumatak sa'yo yun.
Yeah, okay. Okay. It depends na siguro, no? Kung anong type of horror film ang pinanood mo. Yeah.
Correct. Have you tried watching a horror movie na bukas yung bintana tapos your back is facing the open window?
Hindi ko pa nagawa
Try
yun.
mo. You're alone in your room, although hindi na pwede kasi family person ka na, pero
Correct.
may ganun nun when we were doing film critic kasi noon. Sabi ng
Ah,
professor namin we invited someone from UP, sabi, try watching a horror movie, open the window, tapos yung likod mo nakaharap doon sa open window na yon, and turn off the lights.
mm.
Kaya mo
Although
kaya?
Hindi ko pa na-try yun. Kasi hirap gawin yun sa Baguio. Dahil parang malamig. Baka magka-pneumonia ako, bro.
Yung Fog, no? Parang magiging
Yung
horror. Instant horror movie na yun, The Fog. Di ba?
correct the fog. And yun
Oo.
nga, the confinement, gano'n. Yung magiging
The confinement. The pulmonya. Parang
no,
gano'n.
correct. The
Oo.
swab, gano'n.
The Boy Hamog. Di ba? Ay, iba na yun. Iba na yun. Iba na yun.
Iba
Quickly,
na yun.
Keeper, just to end. What's your favorite movie or movies if plural yan?
Okay, I guess yun nga, no. Top 3 movies ko perhaps will be yung I would say pinakauna siguro is yung My Sassy Girl. Well, not in order of ranking na lang. Sige.
Yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
Sassy Girl. My Sassy Girl. It's because yun yung first time na talagang na experience yung ganun type of movie na may twist sa ending. And yun nga,
Yeah.
yung maganda nga siya, di ba? Kakaiba yung ang ganda ng girl, crush mo, and then ganito siya umarte. And then parang in a way, yung masabi ko, sweet ba sila o hindi? Gusto niyo ba tong guy? Inaabuso ba niya? Ganyan.
Yeah, yeah.
And eventually, tapos mukhang parang hindi sila nagkatuluyan. Then all of a sudden, naging
Katuluyan
sila
rin.
pala, nagkatuluyan din pala sila.
Yeah.
And before siya pala yung dapat niyang ma-meet, gano'n, di ba? Na ano niya. So merong konektado na sila ever since the parang film began. Parang may tadhana sila. And then nagtataka nga ako talaga, yung question nga na pumapasok sa isipan ko, paano nakapasok yung palaka sa loob ng time capsule? So,
Yun talaga yung tumatak, no?
Pero yun nga, yun, nakakaliw siya. And siguro yun nga, another one is yun nga, yung the best 2 years. Kasi na-experience ko na yung buhay like yung ng pagiging Mormon missionary. And
Yeah.
nakaka-relate ako dun sa mga na-experience sila. So nakakatawa. And then yeah, comedy siya, entertaining. And that's yung nga, missionary life. And another one is yung The Right. So, kasi based siya on a true story. So parang in a way, I would say thought-provoking na none of these films are actually yung critical acclaimed or award-winning. No? Pero yung nga, The Right, di ba, para sa akin. Magaling yung acting niya, Anthony Hopkins doon. So it's about exorcism kasi, based on a true story.
Yeah.
Paano yung isang pare na skeptical, nagsimulang maniwala into the supernatural. And yun nga, dahil nga based on a true story, so it makes me wonder talaga na totoo kaya talaga itong mga bagay na ito, and then is there parang an external realm or world, di ba? Beyond us pa, ganyan. So, yun lang naman parang, so parang entertaining siya at the same time napapaisip rin siya, and then ang galing ng acting doon ni Anthony Hopkins.
Correct.
So, yun sa akin, yung top 3 films ko.
And then you'd be surprised to find out na, di ba, yung sa plot of the My Sassy Girl was because it's a prequel. Was it a prequel or was it a sequel?
Actually, parang ang prequel siya sa... Ay, hindi, teka.
No, that story, di ba? The story is a sequel. But yung may isa kasi yung pelikula connected with that eh.
Windstruck.
The Windstruck, di ba?
Parang, yun nga, parang it talks about yung sa side naman ng girl eh, di ba? Parang, di ba, down siya dahil namatay yung kanyang boyfriend or something. Hindi siya na-explore masyado yata doon sa My Sassy Girl, and then they filled up yung gap na yun with Windstruck, which is maganda rin yung movie.
Yeah, but the Windstruck came after, di ba? The My Sassy Girl.
Ang alam ko, My Sassy Girl. So
but the story between those two, mas nauna dapat na nangyari yung sa Windstruck, di ba?
Tama. Kung gusto mo yun nga, parang yung My Sassy Girl is more yung story ng guy, and yung Windstruck is yung story ng girl.
Yeah.
So ganun lang. So nakaka-shock lang dun natawa ka lang sa Windstruck na, yun na yung ending scene, nasa train siya. And then nandun I forgot the name nung pangalan nung Hyun Bin ba yan? Parang gano'n.
Hyun ata?
Yun, di ba? Yung lalaki, nakatingin sa kanya. Nagtataka lang ako parang sa Windstruck, sa ending scene niya, died na orange yung buhok ng guy. Parang, so My Sassy Girl, hindi naman. Anyway, ikaw naman, ano yung favorite film mo?
Mahirap rin tanong yan. I'm not sure if you struggle picking yung kasi madami, di ba? Pwede tayo kasing mamili ng sobrang dami eh. If you're gonna be having a list of the top 10, malamang it's gonna be more than top 10 eh.
Although bro, gusto ko sabihin kasi I've been talking about Pinoy movies. Unfair naman siguro sabihin ko na wala.
Ayun nga, I was about to ask you that eh.
O, diba? Pero so far ngayon, ang paborito ko talaga na Pinoy movie, yun nga, yung General Luna, siya. Pero surprisingly, recently napanood ko to, so connected, no? Basta si Janela, and then I forgot pa rin yung pangalan nung guy. Pero, yun nga, dahil crush ko si Janela, and at the same time, yung story niya is parang nakakaaliw yung story na si Guy kasi nawala niya yung cellphone niya. And
Yeah.
then may install siya dito na app na kung saan kung sino man yung makapulot, tapos inon niya yung app na yun, malalaman niya kung nasan yung phone niya. Tapos kung ginagamit nung tao na nakakuha nung phone niya kung ginagamit niya yung phone na nakuha niya, yung nawala, tapos naka-open ito, tapos naka-open yung app, nakakita niya yung ginagawa nitong babaeng ito. So anyway, si Guy, nung nawala niya yung phone, nahanap nga ni Janela, and inon niya, so si Guy, supposed to be sana matatrace na niya, no? Pero instead of tinatrace niya, medyo creepy nga lang yung dating. Tinayaan niya lang na hawakan ni Janela yung phone. And panoorin niya yung mga ginagawa ni Janela. No? I don't know up to what extent niya pinapanood. Pero mas nakilala niya si girl dahil dito sa ginagawa niya. So at the end, yun nga, naging stalker siya. Hinanap niya yung phone niya, hinanap niya si Janela, and niligawan niya using yung mga info na nalaman niya kay Janela. And so nagtataka si Janela, ba't kilala ako nito, no? Ganyan. Pero siya, so eventually, dahil nga kilala siya si Janela, parang naniniwala siguro sa fate, tadhana. So, nai-love din siya kay Guy. Then all of a sudden, yun nga, parang nalaman niya na dahil pala dito sa app. So eventually, yun nga, nagkaroon sila ng falling out, but eventually sila pa rin yung nagkatuluyan after how many months pa yun or years siguro. Pero one thing lang na napansin ko dito sa film no, bakit naaliw rin ako is because parang kahit paano, medyo may lalim rin siya in the sense that it also talks about yung effect ng pagiging online parate na pwede kang masira just because of social media.
True.
Kasi both of them, they don't have any social media accounts na like, for example, I don't know, they're not using FB naman doon as their social media account. But anyway, wala silang ganung type na account. So, kinlose nila din na sila. It's because they had a bad experience na na-record online at naging viral at dahil doon napahiya sila at umalis sila ganun. So parang gano'n, yun lang sa akin. No? Fun siya, kilig naman, and yeah, very entertaining. Ikaw na pare.
Yeah, I'll consider that as the next challenge of mine to be able to finish one whole Pinoy movie. No, just to create sort of a balance. Kasi, di ba, I think I can become unfair if I judge Pinoy movies just because I don't watch them, no?
Oo naman. Try mo lang, no? Bigyan mo yung chance. Start ka kay
Yeah. I'll do that.
Sa mga classic siguro.
Let me write down yung ano yung huli mong nabanggit na pelikula.
So connected. Okay, sorry na. Ano comment? Teka.
So connected.
Teka lang.
Anong pangalan? Anong pelikula? Anong yan? So connected ba?
Yeah, So Connected. Yes. Nasa Netflix siya. So Connected.
Sige.
Nakakainis nga lang si Janela nag-asawa na.
Sobrang affected ka. Ako naman, if I were to ask my own question, yung kung fave movie yan, it's a mix of new ones and good new ones and old ones. So I think first off would be yung sa Old Boy. It's a Korean movie.
Talagang kailangan panoorin yan.
Yeah, it's a suspense action.
Oh,
okay. And whenever I suggest this movie to my friends, I don't want to give them a lot of spoiler because it will ruin the whole watching experience na you have to parang pagtsagaan mo lang siyang panoorin because it has a lot of action scenes naman, pero for the whole movie to make sense to you at para mas mainis ka, you have to watch it until the end.
Oh, okay. Sige.
So pwede mo siyang panoorin, Kipper, no, para mas mainis ka lang after watching it.
Sure.
Old Boy. But don't watch yung sa American remake, it sucks.
Okay. So may remake pala. Okay.
Oo. May remake siya. And FYI, ang actor doon is, I'm not sure if it's Josh Brolin.
Sa Old Boy na American Made.
Oo. Yan, si Josh Brolin yan.
Sa Hollywood equivalent niya.
Tapos ang ang katambal niya doon is yung sa yung kapatid ng mga Olsen twins.
Si Scarlet Witch, sabi yan?
Yung tapos it was directed by Spike Lee, but again I don't
okay.
I don't suggest that you you watch the American remake. You watch the original Korean movie. Yung sa Old Boy na yan. I'm sure sulit na sulit yan when you watch until the end.
Okay.
Kwan. And pangalawa would be the Fight Club. So, classic movie rin eh. Brad
Oo,
Pitt
oo.
Brad Pitt and Edward Norton movie na kwan siya. Quite coincidentally, nung the first time I was able to watch yung Fight Club, I didn't know that I'm gonna be considering si David Finch as one of my favorite directors din.
Mhm, mhm,
Kasi he
mhm.
directed the movie na
Oh.
Fight Club. And maganda doon is David Finch style of directing. Sobrang nalilito ka, pero nalilito ka and yet you still watch it.
Okay.
Ganun yan, yung David Finch. And he
Ah.
also directed yung Social Network.
Oh, okay.
Kaya not a lot of people appreciate that movie. I mean, other than the fact that it's about FB, di ba?
Oo,
Pero
tama, tama.
most people don't watch that because nakakalito kasi parang pabalik-balik yung plot, yung kwento.
Okay,
So,
okay.
nalilito yung mga tao sa mga ganun eh. Yung parang flashback.
Mhm.
Ganun. So, sa Fight Club, pasok siya dun sa aking taste simply because of the story. Na parang, again, you were caught off guard on how the movie ended. Just
Correct, correct.
because,
Actually, ako rin, oo,
oo,
natawa rin
di
ako.
ba? Parang nagulat ka, oh shoot, ganun pala yun, di ba? Now it's making
Grabe.
sense, di ba?
Oo, tama, tama.
Oo, yun. And hindi lang ako makaget over doon sa fact na buhay pa rin si Edward Norton after he was shot in the throat. Yun lang yun.
Correct, 'di ba? Parang lumabas sa ano niya, eh, 'di ba? Parang lumabas sa bibig niya or something. I don't know.
Oo.
Weird.
Yun.
Ang
Hindi po,
weird.
I'm okay. Yan. Pero tumutulo
Oo.
na yung dugo
And parang siya
na
ano 'no, parang parang film siya for anarchist in a way.
yes. Yes. Kasi 'di ba they demolish all of the financial institution buildings in the
Correct.
end.
Napakaganda nung scene na yung kissing scene and all of a sudden yung background nakita mo bumabagsak yung
Mm.
mga building sumasabog. Kaya yeah.
Tapos eto pa yung medyo hakukuan eh. Because of movies like Fight Club Keeper, I was able to get into the habit of downloading and having a copy of soundtrack of movies. I developed
Oh,
that habit
okay.
when I was younger eh, nung nasa college pa ako.
Uh-huh.
Tapos ang isang yung soundtrack of that movie when they were demolishing na yung mga buildings, yun.
Mhm.
Ang title ng ang title ng kantang yan eh, sorry, I sound very nerd. Where is My Mind by the Pixies.
Wow. Okay.
Oo, it's actually in my phone
Nice,
ever since
nice,
yun sa
nice. Talagang
collection.
ano, talagang iba yung epekto ng Fight Club sa'yo,
Oo. But,
How
well,
many how many times mo na napanood ang Fight Club?
konti lang naman. Nasa siguro mga 20 times na.
Wow! Okay.
Oo. Some of my friends hate me because I keep watching movies na napanood ko na before.
Talaga?
Oo. And even in my hard drive, ang naka-save doon, hindi siya new movies. Mga movies that not a lot of people know.
Okay, that's cool.
Ganon. And then the last one dun sa listahan ko is the Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket,
Yeah,
okay.
Stanley Kubrick eh. Old
Hmm.
classic yan na kwan.
Ah,
But if I were to force to pick a new movie na pwede ko rin consider all-time favorite, Interstellar eh.
okay. Wow,
Yeah.
okay. Wow,
Oo.
okay.
Christopher Nolan
Christopher
movie.
Nolan ulit.
Kwan siya eh.
Okay.
Sobrang literal na sagad yung escapism niya because nanonood ka kahit hindi mo naintindihan. The first time I was able to watch it, honestly, hindi ko siya maintindihan.
Parang feeling ko nga, I mean, that's the reason ba't di ko pa rin pinapanood Interstellar, although highly recommended siya ng mga,
Oo.
well, nakakausap ko, ikaw rin, di ba? Parang, pero yun nga, parang feeling ko parang napakabigat niya to the point na parang, alam mo yun, sabi mo nga, napaka-cerebral ang dating.
Oo. Honestly, hindi ko siya naintindihan the first time. Hindi ko rin siya naintindihan the second time.
I think kailangan mo ng astrophysicist habang
Oo.
nanonood siya. Kailangan
Naintindihan
mo
ko
mas
lang siya the third and the fourth time.
Oh, wow. Okay. All
Pero
right.
parang, alam mo yun, yung when I watched it kasi sa cinema, doon siya napanood.
Uh,
So parang sabi ko, to hell with it. Parang napakasayang na ng binayad ko. Tapos ang haba pa niyang pelikula. So parang hindi ako
oh, di ba?
get over doon sa idea na parang, shit, teka lang, sayang yung binayad ko. Dapat panoorin ko ulit.
Uh,
'Di ba? Para lang ma-satisfy yung sa sarili mo na parang hindi ako get over, hindi ako makapag-move on. Kasi
mm,
nagsasayang ako ng pera watching a movie that I was not able to understand. So, paulit nga ako. Inulit ko, hindi ko
mm.
pa rin siya nandindihan.
Sa sine mo
Mm.
ulit pinanood, tama ba? Or
Yes,
dinownload mo na lang?
sa sine pa
Wow!
rin siya.
Wow!
Na kuwan. And then doon sa pangatlo na, nauso na rin yung mga piracy noon. Doon ko na lang siya pinanood. Sabi ko, okay,
Oo.
now it made sense.
Okay.
Yun. And
Third
it's an
time's a
almost
charm, sabi nga nila.
it's a 3-hour movie, Keeper.
Wow! Okay. I don't know. I
Oo.
guess isa yan sa mga bagay na okay lang siguro ako mag-miss out.
Oo,
I mean,
kaya
to
pag
be honest, no, hanggang ngayon, hindi ko pa rin pinapanood yung Justice League Snyder Cut because the
ako
thought of
rin,
just yun nga, 4 hours,
oo nga eh.
I don't know, half
Wala kang
day.
4 hours to spare.
Oo, although nire-recommend sa akin no, ng mga friends natin, pero sabi ko, siguro baka 1 hour, tigba 1 hour every day.
That's a mortal sin ata, no? You don't
Oo.
call it binge watch anymore. You call it,
Oo.
anong tawag doon? What's the opposite of binge watch?
Uh, I don't know, partial watch or something, gano'n. Half watch,
Oo.
I don't know.
Oo. Baywatch?
Baywatch?
For every bay you
Overwatch?
stop, di ba? Parang
Oo, di ba?
cat watch. Yan, na fun. So in conclusion, no, there's really a big of a difference between Hollywood movies and Pinoy movies. But at the end of it all, ba, yung personal choice mo pa rin yung mangingibabaw
Yeah,
dyan. People cannot tell you what is a good movie if you
correct.
think that
Agree
that
ako
is
dun.
a bad one, di ba?
Yeah. Honestly, I can't say na Hollywood movies are more superior
Hindi rin eh.
than Filipino movies para sa akin in terms of entertainment.
Yeah. And it's more of how you see it siguro, the purpose of why you watch. So,
Correct.
if
So
you want to be
depends.
educated, we would suggest, di ba? If you, just to be fair, if you want to be educated about a lot of things, don't watch mga tearjerker movies. Di ba? Regardless kung Korean movie yan o Hollywood yan, don't ever watch a tearjerker movie. But, di
Okay.
ba? Wag
Okay.
naman, di ba? Pero
Uh,
kung if you actually want to just waste your time waiting for something to happen before it even happens, sige, manood ka, tearjerker movie, di ba?
yeah. Oh, you can also give it a chance naman. Wala namang masama, di ba? Try mo lang, no? Pero yun nga, no, I mean, the last thing we want siguro is to, yun nga, ma-force ang mga tao na just, yun, to watch something talaga na ayaw nila.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah.
yeah, if I mean, para na sa akin, again, yun nga, nothing wrong talaga with entertaining para sa akin ng Filipino movies and also Hollywood films. Wala namang masama if you give it a chance. Pero yun nga, after you give it a chance and ayaw mo din, okay lang,
Yeah.
walang problema.
Yeah. And ang maganda dito, I think yung panahon ngayon, yung situation natin ngayon will allow us to explore a lot of movies because we now have the luxury of time eh. And then
Correct.
most of the movies now are streamed rather than shown in cinemas.
Tama.
So that
And yun nga,
alone becomes more flexible for all of us, di ba?
correct. You get to see movies from different countries. Yung recent movie na pinapanood namin ngayon, actually Spanish eh.
Mm-mm.
So, yun nga, ibang ibang type of yun nga, filmmaking. And nagtataka kami bakit parating umuulan. So,
Ano yun?
this movie. Yung sinabi mo kanina, The Invisible Guardian. Okay naman siya. Okay, pero sabi ko nga sa'yo, di ba, may parang kulang lang sa movie. Pero about, yun nga, yung mga detective, they're trying to find the serial killer. And try namin tatapusin yung trilogy niya. Based rin siya sa book eh. I
It's a
forgot
trilogy.
Bastan trilogy para. Based siya dito sa detective na ito. And may mga cases siya based dun sa book. So yeah. Yun nga.
Oo. So if you call trilogy, yung 3 consecutive movies of the same series, how do you call Shake, Rattle, and Roll? That's a joke.
Infinitology, ganun siya no?
Encyclopedia.
Encyclopedia.
One set eh. Nakailan na bang movie yan sa series ng Shake, Rattle, and Roll?
Hindi ko na alam. Teka, check natin. Shake, Rattle, and Roll 9 na ba? Or 10? Ganyan? I mean, to be honest I mean, ako para sa akin, okay siya panoorin, Shake, Rattle, and Roll. I mean, hindi naman, kasi tatlong story siya. So, kung naghanap ka maraming storya, sulit siya.
Yeah.
Dahil, alam mo, hindi lang isang storya ang ano mo. Okay.
I just checked now. Shake, Rattle, and Roll. 15th.
May 12, 12, okay. 15, no, di ba?
15th. Anong 2014, that was the last one.
Ano naman ako, na-disappoint naman ako.
Oo, 15 movies in that series. I think this is a world record.
Correct, di ba?
I blame Shake, Rattle, and Roll for all of my fears when I was a kid.
Okay, so ito pala isang sine para sa'yo na natakot ka.
No, we were forced to watch kasi wala pa namang cable back then, no?
Okay,
Wala,
okay, okay.
parang may VHS, may Betamax, di ba? Nung manonood sila, wala ka namang pupuntang
Ah,
iba, wala namang internet, so parang mapipilitan ka lang to watch it. Yun. And
okay, okay.
yung annoying part dyan, may mga cousins kang malalaki, di ba? Yung parang tatalikod ka, pipilitin kang humarap, di ba? Mga
Talagang
ganun part.
force kang manood, no?
And back then kasi, watching a movie was more of a bonding eh. Di ba?
Tama,
Kasi you can do that.
tama.
You do that with your own family. Ngayon kasi you can do it on your own.
And tama ba, usually, di ba, ang Shake, Rattle, and Roll part siya ng film fest. And usually bang film fest is Christmas. So
Yeah.
nakakatawa lang, no, na Christmas nanonood ka ng horror film.
Yun yung
Wow.
irony, no, na part. Yun yung funny part about
Ay,
it na it's a Christmas film festival and yet they show.
correct.
those
So siguro nakakalungkot, no, na na-break yung tradition na supposed to be every Christmas manonood ka na Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
Mm-mm.
Di ba?
Pati na lang tungkol sa shake, di ba?
Oh.
And roll.
Well,
Diba?
bro, pwede mo naman ulitin, di ba?
Ah, ay.
Di ba?
Yun.
Simula 1 to 15.
1 to 15. May mga copy ba yan online?
Sana nga, no? I mean, yun yung isang bagay sana na meron tayong like Filipino streaming na yung mga films na ito, mapapanood mo pa rin. Kasi
Yun.
mag-binge watch ka na Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
Correct. And on that note, no, siguro magandang pag-usapan din yan doon sa next episode natin. But on that note,
Sige,
diba,
panoorin na. About Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
papanoorin
Ganun.
natin yan. Yeah. And that
Kailan ba
concludes
yung...
yung ating, Keeper, go.
Tinitignan ko lang kung kailan yung pinakaunang Shake, Rattle, and Roll. 1984. Wow!
1984? Ay, wow. Mga 2
Okay.
years old pa lang ako noon.
Ako rin, di ba? At director pa niya si Peque Galiaga, Ishmael
Wow.
Bernal, oh, di ba? And
Wow.
Manuel Borlaza. Oh.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Classic yan.
Classic talaga.
Oo. Hindi kumpleto ang childhood mo pag wala yan.
Tama.
Fantastic.
Correct.
Okay. So, and on that note, no, that concludes our first episode of Catch 22, the podcast.